What's happening on the Dan Lebatard show talking about Cuba? Oh, I saw this. I need to hit my boy up. I think that's the one area we finally found it, because I love Dan. I love Dan Lebatard, but he is Cuban. He is from Florida. He has a very different attitude about it than I do. And I want to actually have a conversation with him after I go to Cuba and come back. First in private, and then maybe even in public. But yeah, it's definitely something I saw, and I think a lot of people are very frustrated because he has a very liberal audience, very progressive audience. And yeah, look, it's not, I don't want to do this thing where I'm just like, fuck you, because like he is a very kind person. Okay. He's a very kind person. He's a very sincere person. He's a very nice person. He has a lot of great opinions in general. But like clearly this is an area of disagreement, but I think there could be a constructive conversation here. I obviously it's like, it's personal, right? I mean, he's Cuban. It's personal. So it's I would say it's a blind spot. I think he would say I'm being a silly little fake LARPing revolutionary who doesn't understand the plight of the Cubans that come from the government and its mismanagement or something like that. But never give up on the unks. They have the most agitprop to detangle. Yeah, it's all good, and I think we'll have a conversation about that. But like I said, you can lean into the empathy of someone like Dan, and have him, regardless of, I've been clipping you for more than a month, putting in 8 hours a day at least. I was on my way to hit 400 to 500,000 views per month on YouTube, but I got shadow banned. Now only 200 to 400 views per video. YouTube support refused to engage with me. Is there anything you or the team can do to help me get in contact with actual creator support? I don't know, but I wonder if that's like a systemic thing that's going on with like YouTube just actively taking out my fan channel somehow. Sorry, I don't feel bad for the Cuban diaspora that Castro and Che Guevara took away their family slaves. Like, look, dude, not every single fucking person in the Cuban diaspora, it comes from that background. Okay, I don't know Dan's personal involvement, but like, if you understand the history, the revolutionary history of Cuba, you have to also understand that like there are a lot of people, especially the recent comers, that aren't coming from that background. Like the initial people who came to the United States of America that literally aligned with the American government, the CIA, the mafia, and all these nefarious forces. Gangster capitalism of the highest order certainly had a lot of involvement, a lot of financial entanglements, and were frustrated. But you can't say that about like second generation people. You can't say that about, Also, there's a lot of chuds too. You know what I mean? The irony, of course, is you don't know. The irony, of course, is you don't get to hear from like real Cubans who still fucking real Cubans who still live in Cuba, right? That's the thing. Like you just don't hear from them at all. Anyway, we'll monitor the situation. We'll get to the Cuba portion of the broadcast in a little bit. Like I said, 2 days from now, I will be in Havana, and
welcome to the program. We're going to focus in the next few minutes on a story that's been breaking, and that is the attack on the South Pars gas field in Iran.
Yes, my goat, Jeremy Corbyn, is coming. Now we can openly say it. Yes. There's a lot of politicians coming, a lot of activists coming. People sending me the Cesar Chavez sexual assault allegations. You're barking up the wrong tree, buddy. Okay. Like, that's crazy. Like, I don't know if I'll have time to cover that. Okay. Like, Majority Report mentioned your Cuba trip and wants in. Are you going to meet up with Boy in Cuba? Yes. Will you do sightseeing there too? Yes, I will. I will be doing some sightseeing. Your bubble is mental. So are you wannabe Hollywood star? What? What are you even doing in life for humanity? You fuck. What do you think is your purpose for humanity? Your bubble is mental. So are you wannabe Hollywood star? Dog, this is perhaps one of the worst weeks to say this. Like, I'm literally going to fucking Cuba with, humanitarian aid mission that we've been fucking organizing for like the past 2 months. Like, you're barking up the wrong tree, but it's like the worst possible tree to be barking up at the worst possible time to be barking up this tree, Che Guevara, you want to be? Yeah, I'm not. I would never. I could never be. I couldn't be the fucking, I can be a fraction of the man that he was. I understand that. Do you like Che Guevara? Because I don't, usually in my experience, people that say stuff like this don't even fuck with Che Guevara, right? You a bum stealing money and making your audience of hate. Okay. The irony here, he is lionizing Che. I mean, I lionize Che, but it's funny because like, I lionize him because he is a lion, okay? He is a man who has sacrificed everything, including his life, fighting the revolutionary cause, succeeding. He's brilliant. He's incredible. I love him. I will never be even a fraction of the man he was. If I can be the man that he was and is just this pinky by the time my life ends, then I will have accomplished my mission, right? I will have had tremendous impact, far more than I thought I ever could. But having said that, I don't think this guy likes Che Guevara. I think he's just saying that. Yeah, Metal Gear Solid. Che Guevara, I'm not even fit to polish his boots. It's true. What's your mission? Making more money, making more hate? Yeah. Famously, that's my mission. That's why I don't run any ads, and I'm entirely sponsored by voluntary subscriptions. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the people, for you, the people. I don't know why you would consider that to be theft, but I guess this guy does. But, didn't you just spend like 50 minutes talking about how to meet people with empathy, not hate? I did, but I don't think this guy heard that. You keep your audience of hate. If there is no drama, there is no viewers, and you know it. I don't know what you're talking about. Are you saying, are you considering like global affairs and geopolitical movements to be drama? Is that what you think is going on? Like going to, like covering, American imperialism is just drama? Is that what it is? Because like I've been doing this for years and years, right? Like it's not, I'm glad that there's more people paying attention to it, but I was doing it when there was no one paying attention to it, and I will do it even in the future if no one pays attention to it, right? I didn't start the drama. If you consider, America and Israel fighting Iran, blowing up Iranian schools to be drama. No drama, no viewers. That's your whole concept. All of it, politics, all MSNBC, TYT, all hate. Thrive to the hate to the other side. Got it. Anyway, thank you, Ultimate Weapon X, for the 5 gifted subs. All right, let's continue with the drama. Bro Mission TYT, that's a 40-year-old chatter. Raging Hoppa, thank you for the 15 gifted subs. Adding on to the drama. Hassan, will this wake up Trump's cattle? Midday futures? No, it won't. All right, let's continue. Trump is now at 100% approval. There's no break in MAGA. Trump's approval with MAGA GOP is literally 100%. 90% of MAGA GOP approve of U.S. military action in Iran. Those who disapprove of Trump are not MAGA at this point. Importantly, MAGA makes up the same share of voters as it did when Trump won in 2024. We'll obviously talk about that. That's why I'm laughing when you say, like, will this wake up the hogs? Nothing will wake up the hogs. The hogs are in a cult. Okay? Closed presents, thank you for the 20 gifted. Are you going to stream from Cuba? How is that going to work with the whole grid collapse? I'm bringing my own power. I'm bringing my own internet. I'm bringing my own gear. Okay. Anyway, let's start here. I'm an Afghan Moroccan girl that was raised Russian. I want to talk with you about things. Moved to Barcelona, Spain 2 years ago due to Holland being done with Dutch politics where I was born. Okay, cool. I don't know. I don't take, like individual conversations like that. You know, there's 31,000 people in the stream with you.
This news coming to us from a news agency linked to the Revolutionary Guard Corps in Iran. It's reported the fire teams were dispatched to contain that blaze. South Pars is a portion of the world's largest natural gas field. It's shared by Iran and Qatar. The Qatari Foreign Ministry condemned the attack as dangerous and irresponsible. What affects one side of the field does have the potential to affect another. It's one big basin, and the two countries do liaise on how they manage it. And in response, Iran's issued evacuation orders for 5 energy facilities in the Gulf, in Saudi Arabia, the UAE and in Qatar. And as a result, there you've just seen on your screens, oil prices suddenly climbing again, topping $108 a barrel in early trading. That's up 5% on yesterday's prices. I've just been watching, in fact, as the indices turned red. The benchmark for UK gas price also rising by nearly 6%. Let's bring in our North America business correspondent, Samira Hussain. And the reason for that, not least the retaliation that Iran is promising, Samira, is because this gas field, it is one. And if there's a fire at one side, as I say, it potentially has an impact on the other side of the gas field.
Right. So the enormity of this kind of an attack, because it has such a cascading impact on a large swath of Iran's oil and gas reserves, it really could have quite a huge impact in terms of how much oil is getting out of Iran. Now, you couple that with already these statements by the international maritime organizations that is saying it is just far too dangerous to have any kind of military escort for these ships through the Strait of Hormuz. You're seeing an intense amount of pressure on oil prices, which is why you're seeing it go up to more than $108 a barrel. And depending on whether we see any kind of retaliation from Iran.
Do you think there's an off-ramp left? There's always an off-ramp. It's just entirely dependent on if America allows Israel to if America cuts Israel out of the equation, there's your off-ramp, right? The off-ramp will never happen as long as Israel is still leading the pack. I think Israel doing this unironically will create an off-ramp because like Israel, with collaboration with the American government, by the way, at least according to Barak, Israel's most loyal soldier, Ravid, Barak Unit 8200 Ravid, reported that this was in partnership. This strike on the Iranian gas fields was actually in partnership with the American side, or at least they informed the American side that they were going to do this, and they were not stopped, right? And for that reason, it leads me to believe that Israel is trying to get Iran to go up the escalation ladder and retaliate, which is, I suspect, already has happened. I don't know. I was on a podcast, so I don't know if they did. But like America might come out and say, we didn't authorize this, but as long as they don't actually stop Israel, or as long as they don't actually turn around and restrain Israel in some way, it's utterly irrelevant. And Iran, I suspect, is already striking back, which will absolutely melt the energy markets, because, you know, it's tit for tat. It's tit for tat. Israel doesn't want an off-ramp, and the faster America recognizes that, or the faster they understand that this is going to be punishing for them, the easier things will be. This is the goal of the Iranian government right now, which is to offer enough of a military deterrence going up the escalation ladder as they get hit over and over again, to literally strike at the heart of capital. Capitalism is very powerful. It's a domineering force. It's the hegemonic cultural attitude. It's the economic organization around the globe, right? But capitalism is also very weak at moments like this. It creates an opportunity for countries to engage in anti-imperialist acts by not just directly punishing people militarily, punishing troops militarily for invading their country, but also hitting the center of capital. And the Gulf assets sitting right there within striking distance of Iranian missiles creates a unique opportunity. And that's exactly what's going on. I mean, Iran did not do this up until this very moment, partially because they wanted to wait, partially because they thought, hey, we're going to be restrained. As long as you don't hit our refinement processes, we won't hit the other refineries. But obviously, there is a lot of there are targets that they could strike that they haven't struck thus far. But now that they've been hit, of course, Moin Rabbani has LTACs on Iran. I don't think so. Israel has just bombed Iran's largest natural gas processing facility in the Bushehr province. Israel stated that it conducted this attack in full coordination with the United States. The attack is consistent with Israel's strategy of aiming to destroy not only Iran's military industries, but also its industrial base and its economy. Israel's objective is not regime change, but state collapse. In this particular case, there is, I believe, an additional motivation behind the Israeli attack. Iran has repeatedly indicated that if its energy infrastructure is attacked, this crosses a bright red line, and it will retaliate with attacks on energy infrastructure throughout the Persian Gulf. If Iran does indeed respond in this manner, the prospects of direct participation in this war by the Gulf Cooperation Council states, the GCC, increases significantly. This is exactly what Israel would like to see and would also explain why the U.S., which previously counseled against such attacks, now supports them and participates in their execution. This attack is not only a demonstration of the U.S.-Israeli capabilities, but also of U.S.-Israeli strategic failure and arguably of growing desperation as well. I think so. I think this is the correct analysis. I think the situation has gotten to, the situation is completely outside of the control of the Americans at this point, and they're actively trying to bring in other regional partners and even global partners to try to create the necessary diplomatic pressure against Iran, because they understand that they cannot open the Strait of Hormuz militarily. And as long as Iran can sit there and keep lobbing missiles at any ship that dares cross the Strait of Hormuz without getting the proper clearance from the Iranian side, it's closed. The Strait of Hormuz will remain closed. America cannot successfully attrit the Iranian ballistic missile capabilities, the Iranian drone capabilities. It's just not going to happen, right? And here we are, another massive escalation that will then have massive consequences after the Iranian retaliation that already started, massive capital consequences, massive consequences in terms of the energy markets and the price of energy in general.
We can probably see those prices going up even higher.
Yeah, Germany's Friedrich Merz has been speaking in the last hour, Samira, saying that it's to everyone's detriment, this war, and that is reflected.
And yes, the secondary impact here that you also have to consider is that it is in Israel's best interest, at least in the short term and maybe in the long term, whatever their design is, to cripple the Gulf as well. So if Iran and the Gulf states are fighting amongst themselves, that's also an upper hand for Israel. Israel wants no Iran and a weakened Gulf, right? A weakened Gulf is much easier to dominate. A weakened Gulf is much easier to dominate. It actually boosts Israel's capabilities in the region. It actually makes Israel play a much larger role in the region. This is the reason why Israel is the unsinkable aircraft carrier in a resource-rich region that America has always placed a lot of emphasis on. Israel has expansionist goals, as we know, and as long as there is no political pushback whatsoever from the weakened Gulf states that are terrified, then Israel can do whatever the fuck it wants. And so this is a mutually beneficial situation, and I'm sure Iran knows this as well. That's part of the reason why Iran has been somewhat restrained in their retaliatory strikes, and that was until this very moment where they did not light the refineries on fire. But now who knows where this goes?
by this strike, because Iranian gas, which has been flowing to Iraq, has suddenly been suspended. So Iraq now suffering from presumably a gas shortage as a result of this. Everybody is affected in the energy markets by what is going on in that Gulf region.
Absolutely. And if you look at the impact, especially when you're looking at the Asia-European sort of trajectory in terms of getting things out of that Strait of Hormuz, you're seeing quite an intense amount of pressure. Now, we know that some Iranian oil is getting out to other countries, that the other countries have made individual agreements with Iran for their ships. So, for example, India has been able to get some stuff out of the Strait of Hormuz, but it's really an ad hoc. And so it might be alleviating a little bit of pressure for some countries. It's not the kind of blanket movement of goods that we saw before this war. And of course, the concern is that these energy prices, if they continue to climb like this, it could push the entire world into a recession. A global recession is very much possible.
Yeah, a lot of pressure coming from Washington, particularly on those NATO countries. I wonder if you could respond to this, Samira. We've just had this from Johnny Beale, our defence correspondent, who says John Healey, the defence secretary here, has had important discussions today with defence ministers from France, Germany, Italy and Poland on the Strait of Hormuz. He said that they'd discussed working with allies to reinforce regional security and protect British interests. But he's not giving any response to whether the Allies would send shipping to the Gulf. And according to President Macron, that's only going to happen when tensions are eased in that area. He's not going to send ships to the Gulf if there's still a hot war in place.
Well, absolutely. And I think that we've already heard from many of European countries saying exactly that they're not going to be going in to protect any vessels going through the Gulf region because it's frankly too dangerous. And we're seeing that international organizations are also saying that it's just frankly too dangerous. So what those discussions are is, it's interesting to know that they're having these discussions regionally amongst allies, but really the conversations need to be had with Iran in this case. I mean, there is a case to be made, as we've seen with other countries like India, who have made individual agreements with Iran to say, hey, look, don't target this particular ship. It's not going anywhere else but to India. And you could presumably see a situation like that happening, where you're seeing more and more individual countries that are creating these that are opening one-on-one discussion channels with Iran in order to protect their own best interests.
Iran's Revolutionary Guard has issued
evacuation warnings right after, obviously, for Gulf energy sites after Israeli strikes on Bushehr. Here we are monitoring the situation once again.
Warnings for several oil and gas facilities across the Gulf. It comes after Israeli strikes hit a key gas facility in Iran's southern Bushehr province. The plant processes natural gas from the South Pars North Dome field, which Iran shares with Qatar. A spokesman for Qatar's...
Yeah, remember, this is a shared gas field, okay? This is a shared gas field with Qatar. It's ridiculous. Like, it's so clearly trying to light the entire region on fire. Like, Israel recognizes that they cannot accomplish their military goals with the current bombing campaigns. Okay? They can't. And that's precisely the reason why they are trying to spread the pain around with no interest whatsoever in what happens to the rest of the world, the energy markets around the globe, basically lighting the region on fire, hoping that America will be stupid enough to put boots on the ground. Why is it bad if Iran loses? First of all, Iran's loss in this situation would mean 93 million people are now living under a failed state. It's devastating for the entire region, right? If that's what you're asking sincerely, in this circumstance, the best possible outcome from this is that America realizes that they got punched in the face, they got a bloody nose, they cut Israel out of the equation and decided to de-escalate and decided to stabilize the region. so that Iran does not collapse and turn into a failed state, because 93 million people living in a failed state would be terrifying. But wouldn't a better government be better for the people there? So this is a common question that people ask. While there could be a better government in the future for Iran, right now they're in war, right? So it doesn't matter. The domestic concerns are secondary, utterly irrelevant in this process. And the American and Israeli government's interest in Iran is not to bring about a new government anyway, right? It's not to bring about a new government in Iran. It's very clear that they are trying to actively destabilize. Israel's goals here are to actively destabilize Iran, to turn it into a failed state, similar to Libya, so that they are easier to dominate, so that they can't actually present any sort of response to Israel when Israel follows up on their expansionist agenda, right? Are you with AIPAC? What do you think?
Foreign Ministry has condemned Israel's attack as a dangerous and irresponsible step. Well, the IRGC has named several facilities in Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Qatar, saying they will be targeted by military strikes in the coming hours. It said that repeated warnings had previously been issued to Gulf governments, accusing them of pursuing what it described as a dangerous path. We're live this hour with our correspondents in Tehran, Dubai, Ramallah and the White House. We're going to first to Tehran. We're going to speak to Mohammed Val. So we're hearing more about this targeting in the province in southern Iran. What do we know?
Yes, we know that As-Salwiya in Bushehr has been attacked at one of the biggest oil and gas facilities in Iran, and that fire broke out in some sections of that facility. The authorities say they are putting the matter under control and that the area has been evacuated of the workers of the factory. But at the same time, Iran says this is a red line. The armed forces have issued an evacuation order for many facilities in the Gulf region. I'm going to tell you some of those, the names of some of those facilities. Al Jubail Petrochemicals in Saudi Arabia. Also the Samarf refinery in Saudi Arabia. You have Ras Gas Lafan in Qatar, and also other facilities in the same countries. So about 5 or 6 oil and gas facilities in the Gulf region are now under threat because the Iranian armed forces have said that in the next few hours they are going to...
Another spider of the exact same kind just fucking came down on my desk and escaped. I don't know where it went. Remember that one spider that was like dangling over my head? Exact same spider. It's a cellar spider. It's harmless and fine. I don't know what kind of spider it is, but it's not harmless, especially if it fucking crawls up this mic and like tries to bite my face. Okay? Real men don't let spiders come on their desk. Yeah, this one's nutting on my desk. He's saying hello. Cellar spiders don't bite. Okay, that makes it a little bit better. Show it to Kaya. I'm snitching on Maya. Okay, everybody calm down.
Retaliate but with attacks on those facilities and that they should be evacuated. Iran has always warned that this war should not take a turn that is going to be destructive and very costly to the region. It has warned the Gulf countries against allowing the Americans to use their airspace and their land and their sea for attacks against Iran. And also it has always been saying that if Iran's oil facilities are attacked, it will retaliate in kind against the same facilities in the Gulf region.
So let's go to Zain Basravi, who's in Dubai. Zain, we've sorted out the technical problems. Let's talk about the evacuation orders that Iran has issued as a result of that US and Israeli attack on the gas processing plant in southern Iran. What more can you tell us about the evacuation order?
Put the helmet on. It'll protect me from the Spidey.
Well, we're 3 weeks into this war. And throughout the course of that time, GCC countries have seen retaliation from Iran in an escalatory manner. Throughout the course of the last 3 weeks, multiple attacks on multiple places, only getting worse. Throughout the course of today, we saw escalating attacks, missiles, drones, and now, by the end of today, it is likely to escalate, perhaps exponentially so, following these attacks on Iran's energy infrastructure. They have vowed they will retaliate, and they have said at least 5 different locations in 3 different countries, in the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar, will be targeted as per what the Iranian government has put out in terms of a warning. They've said to stay away, to citizens and residents around the following facilities, a warning to stay away from oil facilities in Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar. The Samref refinery in Saudi Arabia, Al Husn gas field in the UAE, Jubail petrochemical complex in Saudi Arabia, the Mesaid petrochemical complex and Mesaid holding company affiliated with Chevron, they say, in Qatar, and Ras Laffan refinery also in Qatar, phases 1 and 2. It's very specific here. We should remind people that at the beginning of the war, in the first 10 days of the war, there were attacks on an oil refinery in Saudi Arabia, on Ras Laffan, the gas refinery, liquid natural gas refinery in Qatar. Iran denied being responsible for those attacks. They said they didn't do it. Now, whether or not you believe them, countries in the region didn't. They still accused Iran of carrying out those attacks. Iran denied it. Here, they're stating very clearly that we intend on targeting these locations and you should leave the area. And they have said, after repeated warnings given by Iran, that it would do this. Their energy infrastructure coming under attack, they're going to mete out a tit-for-tat response. Now, we also have a reaction from Qatar's foreign ministry, the spokesman Majid al-Ansari, reacting to this, saying the Iran South Pars field being targeted by Israel, which extends into Qatar's North gas field. It is a dangerous step. Targeting energy infrastructure is a threat to global energy security, the people of the region, and the environment. A very clear warning, a very clear reaction from Qatar's ministry.
Couldn't this backfire and cause the GCC to pressure the USA to de-escalate? The GCC has no power. As long as this conflict continues, the GCC has no power whatsoever. They're just eating it. They're bullet sponges. As long as this conflict continues, I don't think there's any exit ramp for the GCC at all. I don't think there's any way for the Gulf Cooperative Council states to come back to the United States of America and apply pressure right now. I don't know how much they want to do that to begin with. I don't know. I don't think that they're going to be able to do anything. They're just along for the ride right now, and whatever Israel does will have negative consequences for them. And you're seeing it right now. This is a severe Israeli escalation that a week ago was considered a bridge too far by the American government, if you remember. But they have nothing. They have powerful air forces. They could just turn on U.S. and Israel. That's such a funny take, man. No, they don't. Their Air Force is not their Air Force. You understand that the keys can be turned off by the United States of America. When you get weapons from the United States of America, those aren't your weapons. Those are American weapons. Okay? They have the Ghost of Kuwait. Okay, that's true. I'm talking shit about the Ghost of Kuwait. That was very clearly a mistake because the American fighter jets were clearly turning off their transponders while doing aerial bombing missions, which is precisely the reason why the Ghost of Kuwait actually murked 3 of them, something that they do not want to, a mistake that they do not want to repeat regardless. Qatar has 90 modern jets, 60 European. I'm telling you right now, there is no world in which the Qatar, or not even Qatar, but like the Gulf Cooperative Council states could turn around and just like decide to choose to wage war against Israel. It's not going to happen. People are worried about Gulf countries joining the war against Iran and turning into a regional conflict. The U.S. bases in the Gulf were rendered inoperable by Iran in a matter of days. What do you think will happen to the native forces, which have even less air defense protecting them? Furthermore, these Gulf countries do not have any weapons that the U.S. hasn't used against Iran. Exactly. Iran is at war with Israel and America right now, which means Iran is at war functionally with the rest of the world, because the rest of the forces that could potentially mobilize against Iran are all backed by American munitions, backed by American weapons, backed by American systems. Some of them have, modest indigenous defense industries, but most of these weapons that could be utilized against Iran are already turned. Hassan, this isn't content. Why do these people care about what your non-expert has to say about all this? You're a cosplayer, bro. Quit yapping. If I catch you if I look at your comments in the Asmongold chat and I find out that you're glazing his analysis, will you feel a sense of shame or no? Because this is true. I'm not a missile autist. I am not a map autist. I'm a political autist. It's ironic because, yes, I do actually, this is literally my area of expertise when it comes to international relations, when it comes to the talking about anti-imperialism. Not only do I have a degree in just this, but also on top of that, I've spent the last decade or so talking about exactly this scenario. So no, in comparison to the average commentator in the United States of America, both to my right and the liberal content creators as well, I do have the specific knowledge to communicate about events such as this one, analyze them, interpret them, and educate the public on them. But on the other hand, you can, chat rent-free, wholly baited lol. It basically goes to show exactly what you're trying to get out of this. But contrary to your favorite content creator, I do have a degree in just this, right? This is what I studied. And this is what I've been doing for the past 10 years, which is precisely the reason why my analysis so far has been, oh, Crowder called you a commie cosplayer today, so these people were told what to think about you today? Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, Steven Crowder is a great example of a person who is not very knowledgeable, but simply regurgitates American Enterprise Institute talking points, for example. That's like one great example. He's a bad person overall and not very knowledgeable on these issues as well. They're just, repeating whatever kind of talking points they're getting from, Israeli think tanks. So if you want to hear that, you can go and get that pretty much everywhere else on the internet. This is the one area where you will hear a sober assessment on the way things are going, which is precisely the reason why, if you're confused, a lot of people tune in here. A lot of people tune into this broadcast because they look to like mainstream media. They hear things from the administration. They hear things from the government that is explaining a very different scenario than the one that's unfolding in real time. And that's precisely the reason why a lot of people come here and they're like, can this guy make sense of what I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing, as opposed to like what the government is telling me? Because the government is saying, things are great, we're winning the war effort. And yet the situation on the ground shows a very different reality, right? Anyway, these as far as the Gulf nation states like waging war against Israel, that's laughable. That'll never happen. And as far as the Gulf nation states joining the battle against Iran, well, Iran is basically fighting against them already. So they don't have a massive force to mobilize anyway. They don't have massive forces that they could possibly mobilize. It would be laughable to expect that like the Saudi military would do boots on the ground military warfare in Iran. That's even more laughable than the American troops landing on Iranian soil and conducting any sort of military operation. So from the Iranian perspective, they're already fighting against every single one of these countries because they're fighting against America. America dominates every single one of these countries. American weapons are held in the hands of the militaries that they could potentially activate, right? It's not going to happen.
Foreign affairs there.
Zain, it's worth remembering, of course, that apparently there are Gulf countries meeting in Riyadh later to discuss the security challenges that the region is facing. What more do we know about that meeting?
Well, in the beginning of the day when the meeting was announced, it was really going to be addressing the last few weeks, a status quo kind of.
Can the GCC states deploy an embargo like they've done in the past? Well, currently Iran is already doing a de facto embargo, which is why I think the GCC states adding into that embargo would mean nothing. I mean, it would increase the pain in the energy markets, which are incredibly fake, right? It's more fake than it has ever been. But adding on to that is not really going to do anything because like there is already a de facto embargo that is enforced by the Iranian blockade.
Continuous bombardment of these Gulf Arab cities as far as the retaliation, but just to illustrate the day's events, how dynamic this conflict is. There's been targeted assassinations, attacks on energy infrastructure, Israel saying they're going to kill anyone in the Iranian leadership that they want to, Iran saying that they're going to use more potent and precise weapons and more heavy weapons to carry out its retaliatory attacks on whoever they deem necessary, wherever they deem necessary. The escalation just in the last 10 or 12 hours has been exponential. So this meeting that Riyadh has called, where foreign ministers of Gulf Arab countries, other Arab countries, Islamic countries, was with the aim of further
Aren't we also pushing down on those markets as much as we can while denying it? There was something about that recently, but I can't remember. Yes. Currently, as it stands, the oil futures don't actually match the limited supply. And there is going to come a point where like the lack of commodities is going to catch up with whatever the market manipulation that's taking place. Because if you're pricing as though 100% of production is still taking place, or 85% of production is still taking place, when only, let's say, 75% of production is taking place, then eventually people are going to run out of fucking oil, right? And when that happens, I suspect that the markets will correct, and that correction will be really damaging. It's very interesting, though, like watching the oil markets move in a way that is not anchored around the real amount of barrels that are passing through has been truly interesting, because this is the one area where like you have to abide by the fundamentals. You're kind of you can't lie about how many barrels of oil are readily available, right? Oil has inelastic demand. Oil is a commodity that you just can't lie about. This is not like a complex financial vehicle, a tool that you can just say is going to be fine in the future. You can't like price in. You can't engage in like speculatory pricing when it comes to a hard thing that is finite and also necessary. So it's not going to happen. They're trying their very best. Donald Trump certainly seems to think he can just out-yap the lack of readily available oil. And he has seen some success in this endeavor, but there is a physical limit to how much you can manipulate the speculative. I say speculatory. Okay, speculative. There's a physical hard limit to how much you can engage in complex financial engineering. Given the scale of the shock, many people are understandably surprised that the price of oil hasn't gone even higher. But as Main FT reported, this Financial Times reported yesterday, the oil market's idiosyncrasies is arguably obscuring the distress. It's important to remember that oil isn't actually one homogeneous product. It comes in a lot of different densities, forms, and sulfuricides. And therefore has a myriad different uses, buyers, prices in different parts of the world. You know, you got the sour crude, you got the heavy crude, you got the light, beautiful oil that comes out of the fracking in the United States of America. Heavy crude is utilized for jet fuel and things like that. So, the type of crude that is being restricted right now is different than the type of crude that's available in the United States of America, for example. They're sweet and they're sour. There's so much to learn about this, okay? The two main and commonly quoted crude oil benchmarks is Brent and the West Texas Intermediate are primarily for North Sea and Texas/Gulf of Mexico oil, respectively. So when people say oil is at X or Y, what they're usually talking about is the per barrel price of a futures contract for delivery of Brent crude oil in the coming month. However, the jumps in Brent and WTI, while large and alarming, actually understate the degree of dislocation, as the Financial Times Verify Ratcliffe highlighted yesterday evening. This is why the Financial Times is one of the more reliable outlets out there. It's the one newspaper that can't lie. Okay? Because of the people that read it. Because the purpose that it serves is to educate people who are making decisions on the market. So you can't get away with the shit that like Wall Street Journal gets away with, or the shit that The Economist gets away with. Okay? So Oil buyers are scrambling to replace supplies from the Gulf, causing price leaps for grades around the world from Norway to Kazakhstan and driving crude trade in Oman to a record more than $150 a barrel. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz due to the war in the Middle East has severed about a fifth of the world's oil production from the global markets. Remember, inelastic demand, necessary resource for all productive forces. We know what it looks like when oil is restricted. Cuba is a great example of this. Their energy grid collapsed yesterday. They were able to bring it back to life. But understand that, like, when you don't have oil, you don't have a functioning energy grid in the worst case scenario. Okay? When you lose a fifth of the world's entire oil production, when it's removed from the global markets, all of a sudden, you're going to start seeing, especially in the Asian markets, rolling blackouts and things of that nature once their strategic reserves also dry up. The goal here, obviously, is to stop this war of choice from continuing until it gets to that completely chaotic situation. Okay. The growing disruption to supplies has driven a number of regional price benchmarks to all-time highs, even as global marker Brent has fallen back to just above $100 a barrel after jumping to a nearly $120 in the early stages of the Iran war. It's sheer physical scarcity driving prices, as David Fye, chief economist at Argus Media. The price of a barrel of oil in Oman, which exports from ports outside the Strait of Hormuz, soared to nearly $154 on Tuesday, driven by intense competition for the small volumes while still leaving the Middle East. By the way, there's also another entry point or another choke point that could be closed. That is, of course, the Ansar Allah movement that's under the Ansar Allah movement's control. It's not as easy to close that choke point as it is to close the Strait of Hormuz, of course, but the Ansar Allah movement could effectively create a de facto blockade in Bab el-Mandeb, which is the entry point into the Red Sea, or the exit point of the Red Sea. So once the Houthis are activated, which they've said they're waiting for their time to get in, which is not as small as the Strait of Hormuz, of course. It's much more difficult to. It's much more difficult. Yeah, I know. He sent this to me. That's funny. All right, let's continue for now. It'd be a lot more difficult to control, but it would be punishing. It would be it would be very difficult to pass oil tankers safely if the Houthis start, taking pot shots at these ships. So even then, if the Houthis get active, I mean, this will further collapse the global energy markets. Just to hammer home the point, here are the charts of the long-term prices of Dubai and Omani oil, which have now exploded higher than the infamous 2008 spike. The Oman benchmark has hit a record 173.24 today, at least according to the LSEG data that Alphaville has access to. Yeah. This is the other choke point. Yemen has access to this choke point. And this is obviously the Strait of Hormuz, much smaller than Bab el-Mandeb, but once again, very difficult for commercial traffic to pass through if you have a militant state that is ready to try and stop it and implement a blockade. The Red Sea isn't as impactful as there is a way around, just takes longer. The Gulf oil has nowhere to go with the Hormuz block. No, you're wrong about that. Because right now, the Red Sea is incredibly impactful, because 15% of all of the oil that is refined by Saudi Aramco can get to a port on the Red Sea side. The goal for all of the 20% of the world's entire oil and gas comes from this little area. Okay, that's just where it is. They can't get out of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is controlling it. But what they could do, technically, there are some pipelines. What they could do is, and they have started doing this, Saudi Arabia started doing this, I believe it's about up to 15% of their overall capacity that they could flow back to the Red Sea. They have a port on the Red Sea side that would still load up right here, somewhere around here, and would go down the Red Sea and have to cross through Bab el-Mandeb. And they are doing this right now, for the record. Those ships will go through here, and then will flow energy to the Asian markets if they are able to successfully cross Bab el Mandeb, another choke point. So they can go through the Suez Canal? No. We're talking about the energy that's going to the Asian markets, chatter. What are you talking about? They're not going to go through here. There is no entry point into the Asian markets if you pass your oil through the Suez Canal. It's not Bob. Okay, whatever. You can't like the Suez Canal is for Europe and for the Western world. If we're talking about the Eastern world, if we're talking about the Asian markets, no, this is a workaround that is incredibly costly regardless. And you know, it's just mega tankers can't get through Suez. Well, when you're desperate, you go around Africa. That is an incredible trip. It's not going to happen. You might as well not ship oil at all at that point. What are you talking? Guys, look at a map. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but what do you mean go around Africa to get to Asia? You're saying here, high resolution map of the world. Let's open it and try to show you. Okay. Hold on. High resolution world map. Hold on. Here it is. Okay. So this is a high resolution world map. Okay. So you got, where is the, let's make this like a little bit bigger. Okay. You got the Strait of Hormuz here. Okay. And you got the Bab el Mandeb here. Okay, oil is passing through. I can't even fucking find my thing here. Oil is passing through only 15% of the production. Only 15% of production is passing through these pipelines, and they're getting loaded up here. Okay, what your suggestion is, like, this is already a choke point and much harder to reach the Asian markets from this side. Normally, they go through here, go through the Strait of Hormuz, and reach the Asian markets this way. Okay, as a contingency, some of the oil that passes through the Saudi Aramco pipelines can go to this port and then go through the choke point between Djibouti and Yemen and reach the Asian markets that way. What you're suggesting is that they go through here, go through the Suez Canal, okay, get into the Mediterranean Sea, go through this, like, make the journey like this, okay? It's possible, but the economic damage and the likelihood of this scenario is catastrophic. You're talking about like 10x the travel time. You're talking, at that point, we're talking about fucking like that's an act of desperation. So much so that it's virtually impossible. This scenario is so ridiculous. You're talking about like $300 barrels, I guess. Like, I don't know. That's not just like a limited detour, right? Plus, you also have other restrictions in the Suez Canal as well. The Suez Canal is shallow, and from what I understand, mega tankers have a hard time going through it as well, or can't go through it. So you would have to like you would have you would have like severe restrictions anyway. Super carrier vessel oil carriers are too big for the Suez Canal, and that doesn't even include the ultra carrier vessels. Like, there's no way that you can make this trip while also, you know, financially engineering around it, so it's like still something that like a trip that can be conducted, and you can have
disruption.
You can have like a normal stabilized energy markets. It's cooked. It's cooked.
In the Strait of Hormuz are forcing shipping companies to
That's just wrong. You absolutely can make the trip via Suez. Okay, you're the oil nerd. That's 10 to 15 extra days of travel time is absolutely doable. What would it have to get to for them to conduct a 10 to 15 day extra travel time with only 15% of the of just the Saudi oil. Okay, and that is if Iran doesn't blow up the pipeline. What do you think would happen to the price of a fucking the price of a barrel of oil? It's just not economically feasible, as opposed to, like, you're talking about 10 to 15 days of extra travel time. It's correct that the biggest carriers can't go via the Suez, but the smaller ones can. Yes, I already talked about that. The biggest carriers can't go through the Suez Canal. Smaller ones can. So you're now chopping it up into smaller carriers. That adds to the price. Then on top of that, the 10 to 15 day travel time and the expenditures of that additional travel time also raises the price of the barrel. But sea travel doesn't actually add much to the cost. Sea travel is basically free. Okay, what would that look like is what I'm saying. My question for you, my oil autist, my question to you is, what do you think will happen?
We think how goods and energy move around the world. Now, that's where other shipping routes may come in.
By the way, there's also so much that is anchored. There is so much that is anchored around oil. Everything in our economy is around oil. We are highly reliant on this finite good. That's the whole purpose of, like, moving into the realm of renewables, right? Or at least trying to do so in order to maintain some kind of energy independence in the future when this shit inevitably runs out. But as it stands currently, without oil, you can't do air travel. Like, once these limitations start hitting the markets, because, like, you can financially engineer this. You can financially engineer this. You can also have your strategic reserves to be deployed, right? Be released for times exactly like this one. But eventually you're going to run out. And when you fucking run out, then the cost of travel is going to increase dramatically. The cost of commerce is going to increase dramatically. The cost of all goods is going to increase dramatically. No more airplane travel. Now you have massive economic collapse because people simply can't afford jet fuel. Companies can't afford jet fuel. Jet fuel price goes up. That's reflected in the consumer price that people are paying for air travel. Now people are not traveling as much. Remember what happened during COVID. And once people can't travel as much, then these companies are on the verge of insolvency. They're bankrupt. They start closing. Jobs are lost in the process. First, there's a reduction in the workforce. Then there's employees that are furloughed. Then employees are fired altogether. It will have a devastating domino effect on the entire the global economy.
Instead of moving through the Gulf and onto the Mediterranean via the Suez Canal, some vessels are taking the much longer journey around the southern tip of Africa, the Cape of Good Hope. But the longer route increases travel by 3,000 to 5,000 nautical miles. That's 10 to 14 extra days of travel. And that means higher fuel costs. In total, this detour adds about $1 million in extra costs per trip. Now, while port authorities here at the Cape Town port say they're ready to handle the additional traffic, ships that may take the Cape route are not stopping at these ports. It would take up too much time and cost more. The rerouting might offer some benefits to African ports, but that will be far short of the extra costs for shipping companies and their clients. Famida Miller, Al Jazeera, Cape Town.
Yeah, it doesn't add virtually no cost. Of course it adds to the cost. It's not undoable. It's just not economically feasible. Breaking, the U.S. is accumulating forces for a weeks-long operation to take control of the Strait of Hormuz, according to Israeli assessments on Khan News. Unbelievably stupid. Going up the escalation ladder, I think it's going to lead... There's only two options out of this, man. I swear to God, either America is brought to heel if they continue down this escalation trap, or Iran completely collapses and it's a failed state and it has devastating impact. It is devastating impact in the region, which still renders commerce in the region unfeasible regardless. Do you understand? Because like when Iran is not stable, when it's a failed state, that's going to take at least a decade to solve, if you can ever solve it at all. 93 million people. You can't have the country that is slammed on one side of the Strait of Hormuz turn into Libya. This is functionally the same as Israel deploying a nuke. Yeah, for my Eurocuck chatters, kiss your European summer travel season goodbye. Global average jet fuel price rose plus 82.8%. Iranian missiles can reach the Suez Lull. Imagine if they fire it while there's a ton of traffic. There's no reason for Iran to strike at the Suez at all, at least for the time being. There's no reason whatsoever to do that. That would literally that would frustrate European partners even further. I mean, it's something that they can do. They have limited capabilities of reaching there. It's not the same as like holding the Strait of Hormuz, obviously, but that is like, what the fuck? How are you under 250K viewers, Hasanabi? This is big shit. Because everyone's on fucking autopilot, man. Everyone's on autopilot. They don't understand how these things, they only respond. They only respond to like immediate action where they're like, whoa, this is a big deal. Let me go tune into the Hasanabi broadcast. But like a lot of this stuff, especially here in the United States, is very far away from us, both as far as like physical proximity, but certainly far away from us because it's considered unthinkable. Like the American government will protect us. But the collapse is happening in real time. And it's, I wouldn't even say it's a slow burn collapse. It's actually much faster, much more accelerated than I could have ever imagined. But Americans are just like sleepwalking into complete collapse of the energy markets. It's very interesting. Just to be clear, these crazy Gulf oil prices reflect how some Asian refiners are simply desperate to secure the crude they need and are happy to pay it what it takes to get it. Norwegian oil naturally takes longer to ship. Meanwhile, the current Brent and WTI contracts are for May delivery when there should be a lot of supply coming from various strategic reserves, leading to a big divergence. They therefore reflect different oil markets, but that doesn't mean that the Gulf oil price craziness isn't worrying. These benchmarks are directly exposed to export disruptions and therefore capture marginal scarcity more effectively than the Atlantic-linked crudes, JP Morgan's analyst argued in a note yesterday. They pointed out that Asia is already feeling the crunch. JP Morgan's emphasis in bold below. Early signs of demand destruction are emerging in Asia as product prices surge and spot barrels become prohibitively expensive. Timing effects further reinforce this divergence. Typical voyage from the GCC to Asia takes approximately 10 to 15 days, while shipments to Europe require closer to 25 to 30 days via the Suez Canal, or even 35 to 45 days if rerouted around the Cape of Good Hope. As a result, the impact of disrupted Gulf flows will hit Asian markets earlier and more acutely, whereas Atlantic Basin benchmarks such as Brent and WTI will remain cushioned for longer by inventory overhangs and slower supply adjustments. Gas station in Japan says, sorry, out of gasoline because of Trump, not photoshopped. So maybe now you understand why I'm saying the best possible scenario out of this for the entire globe is if America takes enough of a bloody nose here that they see no other option other than decoupling from Israel and de-escalating. Do you understand? Because any sort of further pressure here, like achieving Israel's military goals here, would be a devastating scenario that doesn't actually solve the problem that we're experiencing currently. Okay? Because the Iranian state, being a failed state, still has tremendous capabilities of doing terrorism on the Strait. Okay? It's just, you can't outdo you can't have the most like efficient the military campaign that simply makes this 2 nautical miles that you need to traverse with oil tankers become easier to control. Okay? As long as there's instability on the Iranian side, even if Israel's military goals are are accomplished and Iran is a failed state, that geographical choke point is still very much there. And you cannot dominate Iran militarily and successfully enough to overcome whatever kind of insurgencies that will pop up and continue to harm the traffic, the likelihood of traffic and oil flowing through. There's only one option out of this, which is de-escalating. The only way out of this is through de-escalation and by stopping this conflict altogether. Unfortunately, JP Morgan's analysts therefore reckon that those wild Oman and Dubai oil prices are likely to prove a harbinger for the larger oil benchmarks if the Strait of Hormuz isn't reopened pronto. Again, their emphasis below. The apparent stability in Brent and WTI should not be taken as evidence of ample global supply. It reflects a temporary buffer created by regional inventory overhangs, benchmark competition, and policy interventions. If the Strait does not reopen, this divergence is unlikely to persist. Brent and WTI will ultimately reprice higher as Atlantic Basin inventories are drawn down and the global markets is forced to clear at a materially tighter supply level. I said this a couple days in, that America securing the Venezuelan heavy crude could make America the sole energy provider of the planet if the Gulf is destabilized, right? The problem there, however, is that it would still take a decade of bringing up, building the refineries and the trade routes that you would have to redesign. Like there is no one has the capacity to sit out global collapse for 10 fucking years as America becomes the primary oil and primary energy supplier of the rest of the world. Do you understand? I mean, Canada has oil too, no? Yes, Canada has oil. You got Norway. Norway could reactivate some of their they have plenty natural supply. You have Russia. But even then, these countries cannot make up for the existing supply routes. These countries cannot make up for the entirety of the Gulf falling apart, because that's even larger than just all the 20%. Hey, maybe stupid question, don't flame me, I love you, but I absolutely don't hope this happens. But is there any world where U.S. wins and actually brings diplomacy to the country? Sure, this do the oil take anything they want, but do you think there's a chance? No, not even a little bit. No, I mean, look at Iraq. No, not even a little bit. Yeah, I mean, this is also true. U.S. doesn't have the reserves to replace 20 MBPD of oil. Even if it did, it would probably cost trillions of dollars in infrastructure. This has to be the biggest cell phone in U.S. history. No, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, they would have to, it would take, there's a runway for this. Like, you have to literally design refineries. We have some refineries that handle heavy crude, right? We have refineries in the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America. We have refiners in California that can handle the heavy crude, but like, I think we would need to literally rebuild new ones, and that's not going to fucking materialize out of thin air, right? And it would still take a decade to match up what was passing through the Strait of Hormuz, and refineries don't really handle lighter heavy crude. They mix. The issue is sulfur content. You would need to reroute trade out of America. It's just not going to fucking happen. Some heavy crude is low sulfur, e.g. from Africa. Venezuela and Iran have high sulfur heavy crude. Like, what are we even supposed to do right now? Just wait. Canada's oil sands are not profitable and shipped directly to the States to be refined. Small production that wouldn't make any difference for the rest of the system collapse. Yeah, it just doesn't. I'm trying to see like what the unlikely scenario out of this is. Like, what could be a materialist reason for why America is doing this? Is there a world where even the American oil giants benefit from it? I mean, obviously they benefit in the short term because the price of barrel goes up. Their supply is not disrupted at all. And they can make a shit ton, right? They can make a shit ton of money in the short term. But like in the long term, the entire energy grid collapses. It's like the petrodollar collapses. I'm not sure why you continue to throw around your wild political economic theories, which are meaningless, but fail to even ask us, the eager and eloquent audience, what happens to the oil supply if OPEC politely asked me to store some barrels in my backyard? Yeah. Hold on to your oil, dude. Just buy a couple barrels just in case. You can refine them in your backyard anyway.
Consultation and coordination on ways to support the security and stability of the region. It's going to take on a great deal more urgency and immediacy now with these attacks lined up by Iran, planned for the coming hours. What the leaders in the Gulf Arab states, these people caught in the middle geographically and politically in this war, will be trying to do is bringing political pressure to bear, bringing diplomatic pressure to bear, to try to have the voice of reason rise up above the din of all this violence. But the reality is, the longer this conflict goes on, the more weapons that are used, the more severe the attacks are by Israel and the United States against Iran, by Iran in retaliation, the softer the voice of reason becomes. And that's really the challenge for Gulf Arab leaders that are continuing to push for diplomacy as a way forward.
That's Zain Bashravi breaking that down for us from Dubai. Zain, thank you very much indeed.
It's unbelievable because, like, the solution is so clear. This problem did not exist. Okay? 18 days ago, this problem did not exist. We created this problem. Okay? And the easiest way to have avoided this problem was to tell Israel to fuck off. And we did not do that. And here we are, bouldering down the imminent crisis that we refuse to face. We shot ourselves in the fucking head. And now we're like, oh, I don't know how this happened. Now I have a fucking massive air hole in the back of my brain.
Iran launching a deadly new wave of attacks across the region overnight. Multiple cluster munitions were intercepted over Tel Aviv and Israel, but one hit the home of a couple in their 70s, killing them both. Our Tom Sufi Burridge is there.
You can see
Qatar
the apartment that
expelled the Iranian diplomats from its territory, apparently, as well. But like I said, even if they were to, like, join the war, right? Even if they were to join the war on the side of America, what are they going to do? They don't have anything other than America. It's just more America. Who's going to put their fucking troops, which they don't really have too much of anyway, in the line of fire now? At the behest of Israel? Good luck selling that. Americans don't even want to fucking fight for Israel. Now you're going to get the mercenary troops.
It's a couple in their 70s killed here in what was a major barrage on Israel overnight.
In Lebanon, Israel's campaign against Hezbollah intensifying, where more than 900...
Dude, people are saying, like, Saudi's got a huge air force. What do you mean? Brother, what are you saying? That is just more America. You're joking, right? They couldn't even handle bombing fucking Yemen. What makes you think they can go up against Iran? Like, what is the UAE going to do? Hire every Colombian mercenary on the planet? Reroute them away from Ukraine to go and fight Iran? What are they? It's like, it's not magic. You know what I mean? There's no like magical solution to this. Israel and America have, you know, as it stands, one of the, if not the most powerful air force on the fucking planet. They've been bombing Iran endlessly. More Israel and more America is not going to solve the problem. Do you see what I mean? Unless you know something I don't, and the Gulf states have the power of alchemy, and they got like top-ranking jujutsu sorcerers or some shit that they're going to deploy on Iranian soil, it's not going to fix the fucking problem. Yeah, they're going to send in Leon Kennedy.
100 people have now been killed. The IDF demolished this entire building.
Meanwhile, these fucking psychopaths the Israelis are also bombing the fuck out of Beirut. Okay, they're just like, it's so crazy to me that Israel, in the middle of all of this, is like, well, time to take over southern Lebanon in its entirety. Like, it's so psychotic. It's literally the same Nazi trap that Adolf Hitler fell in. It's very different than doing this to Gaza and Syria and Lebanon and fighting the network of resistance piece by piece. Okay, now you got Iran. Now you got Iran in the fucking equation. Iran has shut down the Strait of Hormuz. It's a very different scenario. Oh.
Central Beirut, air emergency personnel searching the rubble for survivors. Israel gave the alert to evacuate an hour earlier, but that came at 4 in the morning.
The
In
U.S. and
Iraq,
Israel couldn't
militia
take
loyal
these
to
underground
Iran
launchers
unleashed
out?
yet
What is this?
another attack on the U.S. embassy, the most serious since the war began. Flames could be seen inside the compound in Baghdad. A huge gun used to shoot drones out of the sky. And as the White House struggles to get allied help to open the...
Iran is no Soviet Union and Hezbollah ain't no America. It obviously is clear to anyone with fucking any working brain cells that you don't have to be the Soviet Union to be able to disrupt the energy markets, brother. What are you talking about?
Crucial Strait of Hormuz, U.S. aircraft dropped multiple 5,000-pound bunker busters along the coastline.
Yeah, nice CGI. Doesn't mean anything. Strait of Hormuz is still closed.
Strait, which is a critical trade route for the world's energy supply, has been closed for 18 days, causing turmoil for global markets, sending the price of oil skyrocketing. President Trump lashed out at NATO members who were not consulted before the conflict began for not helping to reopen the strait. They insist it's not NATO's war.
I think NATO's making a very foolish mistake.
The president then saying he doesn't need their help after all.
We don't need too much help, and we don't need...
Yeah, no, totally. Bro, you're acting like the Houthis weren't hiding in caves. The entire north of Yemen is mountainous. Saudi's the 13th strongest army in the world. Oh, the Americans couldn't win against the Taliban because they were in caves. Same with the Houthis. You know this, dude. Saudi's the 13th strongest army in the world. Okay. If the Saudis couldn't defeat the Houthis, what makes you think they can fucking defeat the Iranians? The IRGC is infinitely more powerful than the fucking Ansar Allah movement is. The Ansar Allah movement is a fucking, a paramilitary state pretty much that won the civil war with Iranian weapons that they were receiving. Iran is the country that was shipping the weapons to the Houthis. Sure, they're fucking steadfast and undefeated, and they were able to push back. Dig in and push back as the Saudi forces. They obviously won't beat them, but they'll be effective. Yeah, if they couldn't be effective with the Ansar Allah movement, they can't be effective against Iran. That's my point. Also, if you're riding this hard for Saudi Arabia, I suspect you're an oiler and you better be fucking subscribing and also showering the community with gifted subs. What the fuck is this? We got Saudi oil barons in the chat not even subscribing to the broadcast. It's crazy to me. It's madness. Also, once again, you think they're gonna fucking these are American weapons, so it's just more America. That's my point. Love you, bro, but you're acting like their army is the UAE's army, Lamau. Brother, what fucking Saudi national is gonna fly over Iranian airspace? Please, man. They literally stopped. They learned their lesson with the fucking Houthis and stopped doing so. You think the Saudi nationals are going to get on a fucking fighter jet and fly over the Iranian airspace? Or are you delusional? I don't think the Saudis would be on board with that at all. They're far too comfortable. Why would they fucking do that?
Any help, actually.
This as the US grapples with damage to its weaponry, losing over a dozen unmanned MQ-9 Reaper drones to Iranian fire in the 2.5 weeks since Operation Epic Fury began, each drone costing millions of dollars. And overnight, the International Atomic Energy Agency says Iran's Bushehr nuclear power plant was hit by a projectile. Iran says there's not been damage to the plant or any injuries, but the agency is calling for maximum restraint in order to prevent the risk of a nuclear accident. And these dramatic images from...
Yeah, also the thought of like Saudi nationals getting into their fucking American fighter jets to go die on Iranian airspace at the behest of Israel is, I'm sorry, a little hilarious to assume. Like, that is crazy. Like, Americans don't even want to fucking do this shit, but they're cattle, and they're used to like blowing up brown countries and shit at the behest of Israel, sure. But like Saudi Arabia, like Saudi nationals doing this for Israel is a whole different predicament.
Iran.
Why wouldn't they? Are they anti-Semitic? Yes, America, the least anti-Semitic nation, of course, is gladly willing to die for Israel's goals. Saudis might be a little anti-Semitic and not want to die for Israel like that. Who knows?
In the streets, videos circulating online show the Israelis turning their focus to local regime targets. The IDF says they've hit dozens of police checkpoints and vehicles in Tehran. Along with security chief Ali Larijani, Israel killed the commander of Iran's feared religious militia, the Basij, Gholam Reza Soleimani. He oversaw the brutal crackdown in January that left nearly 7,000 people dead.
Now, the Israeli tactic seems to be to clear enough local systems of government repression like checkpoints and militia patrols.
Yeah, this equation is really funny because NATO countries don't want their troops to die for Israel, okay? And you're over here being like, well, the Saudi nationals will do it. Like, that's an unbelievable scenario, brother. I'm sorry. It's unbelievable. I just don't think it's happening.
To get Iranians out into the streets to protest and eventually bring down the regime. I think it's fair to say that's an optimistic scenario. As we saw in January, they would face enormous danger from Iran's security services. Robin?
You're right about that, James. Thank you.
It's been another day of airstrikes here, threats and renewed escalation. Israel targeted the South Pars gas field in the southern Bushehr province. It is shared by Iran and Qatar. It is a significant escalation. Israel also claimed to have killed another of Iran's leaders, Intelligence Minister Ismail Khatib, who was targeted overnight in Tehran.
Hello, Hassan. I'm from the region. Your assessments are usually bang on, but you severely overestimate the Arab countries' own liberties to make choices based on their own interests rather than follow American orders. Wait, what? That's why I'm saying I don't think the GCC is going to cooperate with like any sort of military campaign on Iran. I might be wrong. That doesn't necessarily mean that there will be tremendous success there. But I just don't think, unless you misunderstood what I was saying, they will. So, okay, if America told them to, simple as, wait, oh, you're saying, well, no, you're wrong. You're saying they have no free will. Okay. So you're saying they have no free will if America tells them? No, they have been. America's been telling them to. They're not doing it so far. So you're wrong. Because you want to know why? Because it's not about free will. It's not about the sovereignty of the Gulf states. They are not sovereign. We know that already. It's about the capabilities. What good is it going to do if a bunch of fucking Saudi nationals die? Like, will America actually achieve its goals? America doesn't want NATO forces in the region to be deployed against Iran because this will allow them to achieve their strategic objectives, their military objectives. The reason why America wants NATO nations to be involved in this war is so that there is more diplomatic pressure, that Iran feels isolated from the rest of the globe even further, which I think is still a strategic mistake regardless, because they're willing to go to war with America. And if you're willing to go to war with America, that means you are willing to go to war with the rest of the world. Do you understand? You're failing to consider Iran's domain expansion. Simple domain, bomb Qatar. Yeah. Simple domain, bomb Qatar, bomb Saudi Arabia. That's their domain expansion, which they have been expanding. How are you going to Cuba if you have an American passport? Are you using a Turkish? What are you talking about? Cuba literally does not have any issues with American passports. You can go to Cuba right now. You can literally fly out of Miami to Havana right now, right at this moment. You can purchase flights right now from America as an American citizen and fly to Cuba. It's like a 1-hour flight. The war is already threatening the political economy and security model of the GCC states. It's a war they didn't choose, but they were pulled into, yet seeking a defanged and enfeebled Iran risks a wider, more destructive conflict. Also correct. One more likely to ultimately end in a state collapse and civil war than any form of stable regime change. This outcome would generate greater long-term instability for the Persian Gulf region than de-escalation and a viable off-ramp. The reality is that the GCC's options aren't ideal given the very real risks of a wider war and prolonged instability in their immediate neighborhood. But a diplomatic off-ramp remains the only path that offers any chance of a more stable and lasting end state. Every single thing that I've been saying is 100% accurate, okay? Like, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to like to recognize this. It's not like you have to be a brilliant tactician to understand that like blowing up and destabilizing a massive country in the Gulf on the other side of the Strait of Hormuz is going to be good for the energy markets. It's going to be devastating for the energy markets. Even if you feel like you have successfully attrited Iran's capabilities of closing the Strait of Hormuz, you can never fully ensure all of the oil tankers crossing through because of the physical proximity that any militancy can have to the strait. Another senior Gulf official said the only acceptable outcome of this war would be Iran so defanged and enfeebled that it could never imperil its neighbors again. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Iran. Elsewhere along the Straits of Hormuz, the US says it used deep penetrator bombs to hit Iranian missile sites. In Lebanon, heavy Israeli bombardment flattened buildings in Beirut, while in the south, the IDF ordered those living south of the Zahrani River to move north, including the entire city of Tyre. The IDF said it would also target crossings along the Litani River. Iran continues to fire towards Israel. A suburb of Tel Aviv overnight was hit during a barrage of missiles which included cluster munitions. Blasts and drone interceptions have also been reported in the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, as well as Bahrain. Well, here's how day 19 of this war unfolded. Grainy videos, but a clear escalation. What you're looking at is the largest natural gas field in the world, the backbone of Iran's energy system, going up in flames. The latest conflagration in a region already consumed by fire. Israel's attack on South Pars, apparently made with US blessing, is the...
I saw an insane statistic the other day that was that 27% of American debt, like overall historical debt, came from the 2 Trump terms so far. 27%.
First time Iran's energy production facilities have been hit in this war. Iran
Winning,
shares
baby.
this gas field with Qatar. The destruction instantaneous, the consequences massive. Qatar's response, helpless outrage. Iran's threats against energy facilities across the region, and in the last hour, this attack on Saudi Arabia to prove the point.
As a direct result of this action, the fuel, energy and gas infrastructure of the source of the aggression will be set ablaze and turned to ashes at the first opportunity.
Their backs firmly to the wall, the Islamic Republic is burying its leaders at a relentless pace. Today it was Ali Larijani, the all-powerful security chief, killed yesterday by Israel, along with Gholam Reza Soleimani, head of the regime's street-level paramilitaries, the Basij. The intelligence minister was also killed overnight. The mourning is a message that the Islamic Republic retains a hard core of support. Even for some of its many, many opponents, though, Israel and America's war is a terrifying lurch into the unknown.
Regarding Larijani's death, some people think he could have probably at some point played a role in ending the war.
I feel like I'm watching videos coming out of Wuhan in like February 2020. Okay? Like I feel like we are as a community, the vibes are identical. The rest of the world has not picked up on it yet. We're hearing about stories from Italy. People are like a little bit worried, but everyone is saying, it's going to be fine. It's going to be all right. Elon Musk is going to come out and tweet, it'll be done. It'll be done by, April. It'll be gone by April. It's just the flu. It literally feels like that right now. I don't want to freak you guys out, but what is this? Relevant. This time reminds me of how I felt at the beginning of COVID when it was clear everything would come crashing at a halt, but most people could not see it yet. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad other people are seeing it too. It's pretty wild. Do you mean a good outcome or a bad outcome is coming? There is no good outcome here, no matter what. There is the least bad scenario, and I've described it over and over again. The least bad scenario requires restraining Israel or decoupling from Israel altogether and actually de-escalating. Okay? That's the least bad scenario here. The most bad scenario is obviously nukes. The less bad, but still unimaginably bad scenario is Israel and America launch a war against Iran. Troops are deployed, coalition of the willing, NATO forces, boots on the ground, an extended conflict with no real solution, no immediate solution whatsoever. That leads to in a couple, I don't know, in like 5 to in like an extended military campaign. There's a destabilized Iranian state. I don't fucking know. I don't know how you know. I don't know how long that conflict would take.
People don't want this war to continue for a long time, especially given the collateral civilian damages and already dire economic situation.
This war is becoming a catalogue of grim firsts. Here's another. Iranian cluster bombs raining down on Tel Aviv. These bomblets get released even when the missile carrying them is intercepted. In this case, the residential neighborhood of Ramat Gan, Eshel Street, corner of Haroe, 3rd floor. The apartment of Yaron and Ilana Moshe, both in their 70s. It seems that they were too old to make it into the shelter, and that was their death sentence. Are you getting more vulnerable now?
We've seen a decrease in the Iranian regime's fire.
This is cope, by the way. Like this is cope. Like even the Western journalists are straight up asking like the Israeli officials, like, do you feel like you're less safe, less secure? And the answer is yes. Because the Israeli defense capabilities are also not infinite. And the longer this goes on, the worse things are going to get. While Iran increased their capabilities again, by the way. Iran is firing more and they're hitting more per shot than during the first days of the conflict. Not good. Like, remember, they hit a low point on day 8 and Israel and America was like, oh, by this standard, it's fucking over, right? By this standard, it's done. It's over. We've successfully destroyed their strike capabilities. Yeah, except it turns out they have still strike capabilities. They've increased the number of missiles that they're launching and severely increased the number of drones that they're launching, as I said.
But we've seen an increase in their attempts to target civilians. We've seen an increase in their willingness to use weapons.
I know we broached the subject before, but do you think there's any amount of penetration of Israel's previously thought to be ironclad defense that will turn Israelis against this war? I don't think so. I mean, if October 7, if the aftermath of October 7 showed anything, Israelis don't have a de-escalation button. They just, the more they get hit, the more they get bloodied, the harder they want to fucking fight. They're truly suicidal. They're fascist. It's a fascist country. This is how fascism works. There is no restraint. There's no restraint here at all. There is no interest in restraint here at all. Israel will not stand down. Israel can only be forced to stand down. And that's where America comes into play.
That are a war crime to be used against civilians.
Israel prides itself on defined normality.
For the record, this is why I say that this is why I have been saying that Israel is a Nazi state. Okay? Did the Nazis stand down? Or did they become increasingly more belligerent in their final days? Fascism is a suicidal ideology. Israel is a fascist country. Zionism is a fascist ideology. Why did you make it seem like you donated to Casey Tron's GoFundMe when she unequivocally said you didn't? That's awesome. Chatter tuning in from a fucking Motorola Razr phone. Japanese imperial soldier fighting the battle 30 years after it's over. Sent from the year 2024 or 2025. Amazing. Enjoy $10 gas, Chatter.
Manicures in the mayhem, a trim at the barber's, a breakfast at the neighborhood cafe, and a broad consensus.
Yeah, Chatter's about to come in and be like, you know, it's really fucked up that you leased that Porsche, dude.
That this war against Iran is necessary. Did you have to fight this war?
Yeah, this is a necessary war. We have to end it with all the terror and the fighting from Iran.
I born in kibbutz Neve Tam. In '56, I was in the shelter.
And now you're still in the shelter?
Yeah,
still in the show?
yeah, 70 years, the second all the time. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Few people think that this will be the last one, and few dare to think what would happen to Israel without the support of its American protector. Presidents can change, but geography is here to stay.
Well, as you can imagine, this strike on the gas field in Iran is having a huge effect on the global energy markets. For more on this, our economics editor, Helia Ebrahimi, is with me now. Helia, how has all this played out in the markets today?
Well, Kathy, as Matt was just saying, Pars is the biggest gas field in the world, and after the attack, the price of oil immediately shot up 5%.
A society full of fashion, the world is treating them like normal people. Insanity. I mean, let's be real. It's the fucking Western blind spot, right? I mean, it took a good deal of pain for the Western world to recognize the dangers of fascism with Nazi Germany too. Like, think about it. At the time, it was new, right? It was a new formation. It was a new ideology. It was seen as like a revolutionary one. But like, it did take a while for Western countries to move away from appeasement to be like, yeah, we got to fucking fight these guys. This is, this is unbearable. This is unacceptable. There were people who recognized the dangers and wanted to fight back against it, FDR being one of them. But even to galvanize the American population, it took Pearl Harbor, right? To directly join the battle rather than just like offer support to the USSR. So Israel can no longer be controlled. There's only one way this is going to end. I don't think so. I think Israel is so Western reliant to operate as a nation state, at least at this present formation, that the older Ashkenazis that still run the government are a little bit different than the next generation. If we don't nip this in the bud, you're going to have an Orthodox population that literally does not have, basic literacy rates that are dominating Israeli demographics right now with access to nuclear launch codes. And that, I don't know what that would look like. But I will tell you right now, Israel doesn't exist without Western support. Unlimited Western political cover, unlimited Western support. That's why I kept repeating the importance of cultural boycotts, academic boycotts, BDS of every sort. It's the least bloody way to rein in this fucking fascist state, this rogue state. Okay? It's okay. They can't use the nuclear launch code. They can't read the nuclear launch codes. What does nipping in the bud mean in this case? It means like fucking bringing Israel to heel. Like telling them to cut it out, stopping them, applying as much pressure as possible. No more aid, no more defensive weapons, no more offensive weapons, nothing. You tell Israel you're going to fucking cut them out of being seen as a normal country, you remind them that they are a literal pariah state. Okay, and they will change their attitude very quickly. But this might be the last chance that the world has before they become completely insane. They already are a fascist country. But at least there are some people, I think, that helm the state that could be reasoned with. Some fascists that you could bring to heel if you explain to them that they will lose all of their favorable contracts and the favorable relationships that they have with the Western world. Their security will be threatened. Their day-to-day existence will be threatened for a long enough time, for far longer than they're used to. They'll have to make different cost-benefit analyses. No, I'm good. But which country will do this? There's one country that can do this, the United States of America. All the other countries in the world could technically pressure the United States of America to do this. And I don't think they're ever going to do that until they eat enough of the economic harm. Until America receives enough economic penalties that they have no other way out of this, that they recognize that they have no way out of this. Wait, oh shit. Actually, wait, hold on.
reaching almost $110 a barrel. The price of European gas also immediately was impacted. You can see shooting up, that sharp tick up 6%. But it's not just oil and gas. This feeds into fertilizer, petrochemicals, foodstuffs, inflation. And I've picked out just one example, corn prices, because corn needs nitrogen, which needs gas. And you can see after the attack, it...
Won't they just partner with Russia once we hopefully drop them? It's not so simple. Dude, you think Russia can offer Israel the same protective cover that America can? Are you fucking insane? Russia's... No, the fuck they won't. The real fear there would be China. But even China would probably not isolate themselves in an effort to take advantage of, like, in an effort to turn Israel into Israel, but for China.
Just shoots up. Now, there are farmers out in Iowa and all over the American heartland right now, Kathy, choosing whether to plant corn, which needs gas, or soybeans, which doesn't. And that matters because if they plant less corn, that is going to constrict supply, which is going to push up inflation later in the year.
Fritters just today. So why is this gas field so important?
Listen, I don't think you can underestimate how politically and financially important it is. It's set in the middle of the Persian Gulf, owned half by Iran and Qatar. It's estimated that there's 1,800 trillion cubic feet of gas there. That is more than any other gas field in the world combined. The South Field, which was attacked today, is owned by Iran. Most of that is used domestically in homes, in heating, in industrial activity. The North Field, owned by Qatar, is basically exported in LNG to Asia, to Europe, but also to the UK, Kathy. But remember, that is offline now.
Mm-hmm. And we've had the Federal Reserve decision on tax today, haven't we?
Yeah, really critical decision. Last time they met, oil was at $60 a barrel, and now it's almost at $110 a barrel. But they were fairly dovish today. You know, even though they held interest rates and raised inflation expectations slightly, it was the best that Donald Trump could have hoped for. You know, in a world where diesel in the US is about $5 a barrel, which touches a real political nerve in the US.
Elia, thanks very much for joining us. Let's go now to Matt.
Thanks, Kathy. Well, now in the US, the Director of National Intelligence has been testifying before the Senate about the intelligence that prompted the war on Iran. Tulsi Gabbard has said that while the Iranian government has been weakened, Iran and its proxies are still a threat to the US and its allies in the Middle East. Let's go over now to Washington and our US editor, Anushka Astana. Anushka.
So yesterday we had a senior resignation, Trump's counter-terrorism chief, going and saying that there was no imminent threat from Iran. Now, that has turned attention from him, Joe Kent, to his boss, Tulsi Gabbard, who is the Director of National Intelligence. She's an interesting character, a former Democrat who switched to support Trump in part because she didn't believe in forever wars. She actually put on social media in 2019 that she didn't want Trump to go into a stupid and costly war in Iran. She called on people to join her in sending a message to the White House. The US must not go to war with Iran. So what is she thinking now? I sat in that hearing earlier, Matt, and I tried to tell, but she was being very careful with her language and her face was studiously neutral. I wished I could read her mind because it felt as if she was holding back. At one point, she said that she wouldn't answer whether or not the White House had asked for intelligence related to the Strait of Hormuz. And then there was another bit that was in a written thing she had submitted in which she said that last year strikes had obliterated Iran's nuclear capability and that they hadn't enriched uranium since then. She didn't actually say that out loud in her opening statement, but she was pressed on it later on. She did say it, and then she said it's up to the president to decide what is an imminent threat. Listen to what followed that.
Was it the intelligence community's assessment that nevertheless, despite this obliteration, there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime? Yes or no?
It is not the intelligence community's responsibility to determine what is and is not an imminent threat.
Okay.
That is up to the president
here's the problem.
Based on a volume
no,
of
it is
information.
precisely.
What are you saying? It is literally the only job It's the one job. You have one fucking job, you animal. What the fuck are you saying? Yeah, no, the president could just like materialize threats out of thin air and we have to go along with it. Okay, fuck the intelligence community. There's no reason for any intelligence whatsoever. We don't even need to like make up fake intelligence to justify our actions. I guess shutter the operation entirely. The president makes unilateral decisions. One day he decides Iran is a threat. The next day he decides Greenland is a threat, and we just have to go along with it. Unbelievably fucked.
Precisely your responsibility.
So in truth, we don't know what Tulsi Gabbard is really thinking about this. And Matt, of course, I did try, as she came out of there, I tried to ask her again. Just have a quick look at asking her that question. Director, will you say that you support this Iran war? Do you support it? Could you say that? Now, look, she may just not have wanted to answer questions, but I thought it was interesting. This is a major moment for the US, and the Director of National Intelligence wasn't giving anything away.
Anushka, thanks very much indeed. Well, in the last few minutes, there have been reports of explosions at Qatar's Ras Laffan gas field. Joining.
I think this administration forgot why there's a separation of powers to begin with. Why there's an intelligence community to begin with. It's not so that they can actually offer a check or a balance on the presidency. It's not for that reason at all. It's the perception of checks and balances that give people the confidence that the administration is moving in the appropriate way. So when you drop all of that, you have no confidence and therefore no support. You can't continue waging war like this with just the MAGA base. Something's going to give. When those gas prices start fucking blowing up in the United States of America, or even if you can overcome that with domestic production, let's say, and you offer price controls, shit like that, to stave off the cost of the pumps for Americans. What are you going to do with the rest of the planet when they just don't have oil? What are you going to do when the Asian markets do not have energy whatsoever? You're going to crater the rest of the fucking planet? Years and years of allegiances that played a formative role in making you the hegemonic superpower? I mean, good luck. Good luck, I say.
Now from the Qatari capital, Doha, is Dr. Tanya Thafer, the Executive Director of the Gulf International Forum. Thank you so much for coming on the program. I mean, how existential is this attack on the gas field for your country, for Qatar?
I'm actually just here in Qatar, but I would like to say that this is an important escalation for Qatar. Ras Laffan is extremely important. It's where it processes mostly all of Qatar's gas, and it was just hit by a missile within the last few minutes. Mm-hmm. You know, for Qatar, this is a very serious economic hazard. And, you know, the fact that Israel struck South Pars field that's shared with Qatar put Qatar at risk. And that's why you saw a statement right away from Majid al-Ansari, the spokesperson for the ministry, raising that concern exactly. And, you know, Iran has mentioned that it is going for an eye for eye strategy. And unfortunately, the other eye is the Gulf states. And therefore, whatever happens in Iran, unfortunately, is reflected in the Gulf. Let's mention, though, that Iran has attacked or attempted to attack various energy facilities throughout the Gulf. So this is not its first attempt, but this is one of the successful ones.
Okay. I mean, the Israelis started this latest round today with the attacks on the South Pars gas field, but they did so with the permission of America. I mean, America is supposed to be Qatar's best friend. The Qataris have promised Donald Trump a shiny jumbo jet or big plane when he retires. How angry are the Qataris with the Americans now?
I think that's a difficult question. And it's surprising, actually, that the U.S. greenlighted this because it is against U.S. interests with the price of gases hiked in the U.S. But in terms of the Qatari stance, I think they've been very clear that they are going to continue to be focused on maintaining their core relations with the United States. You have to understand, Matt, that also the Gulf states' security is dependent on the U.S.'s military defense systems, which have allowed more than, let's say, a 95% interception rate in the case of Qatar. And so therefore, although the U.S. could be part of the problem, the U.S. is a huge part of the solution.
And are you looking at a future that is just going to be one of chaos with an unstable or perhaps even more vicious Iran breathing down your neck?
Well, that is a problem for the Gulf states. As I've said on different shows, that the war front is at the Gulf. Even so, the more that they diminish Iranian missile capacity, especially long-range missile capacity, the more so the Gulf states are going to be the main target. Let's be clear that on most days, UAE has been targeted more than Israel. So I would like that to sink in for everyone. So this is a very problematic war for the Gulf state. And when you have an injured, angry, wounded Iran across the Gulf states, it's not good news, especially if it has the capacity to attack them.
Indeed. Dr. Dania Thafar, thank you very much indeed for joining us there from Doha.
Day 19 of the war, and every day, it seems, some new element emerges that we haven't really seen before. And so we've seen a series of attacks. The Israelis have been more...
Bro, they can't do anything. The fact that they're even landing any criticisms on America in this process is unheard of. What do you expect the fucking Gulf spokesperson to say? Fuck America? Are you insane? They're already servile. They have American military bases. They know why they're getting attacked. None of them think, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. This is so shocking. They'll say that in their public-facing communiques, but they very clearly understand why they're being attacked. They know why they're being attacked. The fact that they're even saying, like, America allowing Israel to strike the oil production in Iran is devastating is already, like, unique. It's also funny because, like, Israel directly struck Doha already. And all they got out of that bargain was, like, one Benjamin Netanyahu phone call apologizing publicly to Qatar. That's it.
Successful than before in decapitating the leadership of the Iranian government, and the Americans have continued their bombing policy, and they're taking out more.
I thought your stance with the Gulf states are going to turn on the United States. Yeah. Not right now. They can't do anything right now. She already explained it. She's like, all of our defenses are American. They can't do it right now. When the dust settles, yes. Who knows when that will be? Who knows if there is even a Gulf at the end of that bargain? Because think about it this way. Imagine they come out and they're like, actually, America is now our enemy. Okay. So who's going to protect them? All of their military equipment is American. America shuts them off remotely. Israel goes, all right, it's open season. Now we're going to now we're going to turn every fucking Gulf, every Gulf capital into Gaza. You know what I mean? Who's going to stop Israel?
More and more targets getting deeper into the Iranian military structures. The war within a war, really, Israel's war on Hezbollah in Lebanon gets ever more fierce, and that's something which will go on relatively independently of the rest of the conflict. But this is something else that we've seen. Last night, the Iranians launched 10 barrages of ballistic missiles specifically against Israel. And they hit areas across the whole of Israel. Some of them got through because they were able to overwhelm the defense. And in particular, they actually got some missiles onto Tel Aviv. In the broader war itself, the United States is very, very interested in what the Iranians may have along the shore, of course, of the Gulf. we've all been curious as to why the Iranians have not yet used cruise missiles. They've used all their other sorts of munitions, but not cruise missiles. Why not? We think maybe it's because they've been holding them back for use against shipping in the Gulf, because cruise missiles are the best sort of anti-ship missile. They're very effective. Now, that's the theory. Last night, it looks as if the Americans decided to act on that theory. They deployed, they said, the Big Blue, the GBU-72, which is the bunker buster bomb, the bomb that can penetrate into the ground and blow apart underground storage facilities, headquarters, whatever they are. And so last night they conducted a series of attacks along the Iranian side of the Gulf. Now, we don't know where those attacks took place, but there were several of them. And the Americans reported this morning that they'd blown apart a number of storage bunkers. So we think that that's what the Americans are doing. They're going after the cruise missiles, which the Iranians may have been stockpiling for use against shipping in the Gulf. That's all part of the ongoing war of the Gulf, and particularly the Straits of Hormuz. And, you know, we spend a lot of time looking at maps, but this is what the world really looks like. This is what the Earth looks like from satellites. And here it is. There's the Gulf. There's Iran. Here is Saudi Arabia. There are the Gulf states. That's Qatar. That's Bahrain. This is the United Arab Emirates. And here is the Strait of Hormuz. 33 kilometers of water, only 11 kilometers that ships can use. Increasingly, this is the bit that we are all thinking about. And so whatever happens in this war over the next couple of weeks, we assume that that war will go on at a ferocious level. But ultimately, it still comes down to that little strip of water that we call the Strait of Hormuz.
So it's day 8.
I hope the Mr. Beast land in Riyadh is okay. I hope the Iranians haven't attacked Mr. Beast, Mr. Shaitan. That would be a devastating predicament, you know? I was planning on going to visit.
Of the American-Israeli war against Iran. It feels like we've hit a bit of an inflection point. War is all about seizing the initiative, it's forcing your enemy onto the back foot, forcing them to be reactive. Now, of course, at the moment, the US, although dominating militarily, does appear to be running out of ideas and momentum. Meanwhile, Iran is starting to take control. The question is, how is all of this unraveling for America? One of the strategic objectives of America was regime change.
That's crazy. I never in my life ever thought that I would hear a Sky News anchor say those words. Insert foreign adversary, taking control over the battlefield, and America losing its grip. Do you understand how insanely fucked the situation has to be for a Western news outlet to state it like this? Trump blinks, no more attacks on energy. If daddy wants it, daddy will get it. And by that, I mean Benjamin Netanyahu.
Early in the war, they took
also known as Benjamin Netanyahu
out Ayatollah Khomeini and a whole load of his senior leaders. But of course, very quickly afterwards, Mushtaba replaced the Ayatollah. And over the last 24 hours, we've seen two more leaders from Iran, Laranjani and Soleimani, both be taken out as well. But once again, their successors have probably been already nominated. They sound as if they're more hardline and therefore potentially more dangerous. If we look at Israel's attacks against Hezbollah, Israel is conducting a whole series of operations over the border at the moment into Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon, but also striking in Beirut. The challenge here is this actually contributing to the strategic objectives of the war? Is it actually helping regime change in Iran? Is it helping stop Iran securing nuclear weapons? If the answer to those is no, there is a question about divergence of objectives between Israel and America. If we also zoom out...
Have you ever told Chad what Bibi means in Turkish? You mean pipi? Pipi mi diyorsun? You keep talking about America losing this war, but you completely go over the fact that Israel's winning literally in every aspect. Okay, I think you forget something very important. If America's losing this war, so is Israel. That's it. Like, I get the point that you're trying to make here, which is like, oh, well, Israel gets to blow up whatever it wants to blow up. But like, America is still the big daddy in the equation. If America's not achieving its military goals, then Israel doesn't care about the Hormuz or Gulf states. No, I understand the point that you're trying to make. But if America, quote unquote, loses this war, then who the fuck is going to carry Israel on its back? How do you not understand? It's over. No America means no Israel. There is no world where Israel exists without America. Without America, Israel would be gone.
Look at the broader region. Whilst
White House is
Iran's
blaming Israel for the
conventional
chaos.
military
Oh, that's
capability is being
awesome.
decimated, Iran is still fighting back. If we look at some of the action over the last 24 hours, there have been strikes in the UAE, strikes in Saudi Arabia. We've also had 4 Iranian drones striking the US embassy in Baghdad. We don't hear any reports of casualties, but it did lead President Trump to sound surprised that Iran still had this capability. In addition to that, we've also got the Iranian proxies still active. We've got Hamas available in the Gaza. We've got Hezbollah operating in the Lebanon. We've got the Houthis down off the Yemen. We've also got forces in Iraq and Syria that are also causing a great deal of difficulty. All of this, though, the main area of problem is around the Straits of Hormuz, where, of course, the blockade there is leading to a massive spike in oil prices. If you look at this strategically, this is a war against Iran, but look at the activity and how the war has spread, causing a major, major problem for American forces. Now, the US strategy here will have been based on a military plan, and that military plan will have been war-gamed several times. I used to be involved in some of that wargaming. Occasionally, I even played Iran in that game. And every time you played it through, Iran got decimated militarily, but it always ended up controlling the Straits of Hormuz. And bluntly, there's no easy answer to that. Iran's had 30 years to plan its defences there, to tailor its weapons, make them hidden deep underground, and probably got months and months of supplies, which make it very difficult. There's no simple solution unless you put boots on the ground. At the moment, that looks unlikely. And therefore, that's probably why President Trump was prompted to look to NATO to try and get some more help from the international community. Now, here's some of the NATO countries, but let's be quite clear. NATO is a defensive alliance. It doesn't exist to try and help America as it conducts...
Cap, bullshit. Bullshit. What kind of defensive posture was NATO engaging in Libya? Huh? That was an aerial bombing campaign. What kind of defensive posture were the NATO forces engaging in fucking Libya? That is bullshit. Remember, these guys are also still Western chauvinists. They're liars. At least, you could make the argument with Iraq. I mean, you really can't. Or Afghanistan. Because like, oh, Al-Qaeda, you know, they struck us, 9/11. We were attacked. With Afghanistan, you can make the argument. With Iraq, you can't, right? But there is no argument. I mean, none of that was defensive either, by the way, obviously. But like, America was attacked on 9/11, and they chose to you know, attack Afghanistan and Iraq. Hassan, not understanding basic defensive colonialism, shaking my head.
An offensive campaign against another country, particularly when it's not entirely clear that that military campaign is based on a...
Afghanistan and Iraq weren't defensive, Lamau? Yeah, no shit. You think I don't fucking know that? I'm saying that there was at least an argument that America could present to NATO to say, look, we got attacked and the guy who did it is hiding in Afghanistan. We need to go and extract him by militarily occupying Afghanistan, which is ridiculous to begin with, but like they had something that they could tie to. Whereas with Libya, there was nothing. It was just purely offensive. No fake reasoning for it whatsoever.
Sound legal basis. So how's this war going to end? Well, it seems very difficult for there to be a military solution to this without putting boots on the ground and a very, very long...
Yeah, it's not happening.
As we've mentioned, 3
Dude, boots on the ground be crazy.
of the most senior members of Iran's government have been killed by Israeli forces in targeted attacks over the past 2 days. Intelligence Minister Ismail Khatib...
Not contradicting you, but the Taliban offered Osama to a third party. Yes, I know. Also, the Mujahideen initially wanted to give up Osama bin Laden, and we returned the favor by killing the fucking leader of the, what was it, like the Northern Territories? We literally played a role in the assassination of the leader of the Northern Territories, who I think he died on 9/10, and a month prior he had suggested that he could give up the Northern Alliance. A month prior to that, he suggested giving up Osama bin Laden before 9/11. Come on, say it. I'm not going to say anything. Ahmad Shah Massoud.
Khatib is the latest senior official to be killed in an Israeli strike overnight. He previously worked in the office of the former Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. On Tuesday, Iran's security chief Ali Larijani was...
Like Israel is going back to, business as usual here, which is crazy. Tremendous civilian penalties, by the way, tremendous civilian casualties. Like the Basij guy that they killed as a bus was passing by. Okay. They blew up a fucking commercial bus. Right. And the thing is, these targeted killings don't actually have any function. It does not achieve any military objective at all. And they're just kind of doing it for fun at this point. That's it. That's it. They're just doing it because they're bored. Oh, fuck. Yeah, on NATO and Libya. Never forget that when the U.S. and NATO invaded, bombed, and regime changed Libya, they did it in the name of human rights, and in the process transformed one of the most developed countries in Africa into a place riddled with civil war and infamous for open-air slave markets. This is a fact, by the way. It was investigated and reported by several major news agencies. CNN even filmed one of the slave auctions, and it's not a minor thing. It has been documented in many known locations where auctions were set on regular schedules. I'll never forget the reporting, because in most cases, the journalists totally failed to draw any connection to the NATO invasion. It was just, wow, look at this extremely evil thing. Oh, well, moving on. Refusing to mention that the evil was 100% brought about by the US, UK, Canada, France, etc. It cannot be emphasized enough. The notion that the states of the imperial core care about human rights in the global south is an extraordinary farce. They are quite happy to produce open-air slave markets in a failed state if it suits their interests. That's it. I'm in Benghazi. It's fucking trash. Sorry. Well, now you got 2 Libyas, right? At least 2 for the price of 1. I don't know what to tell you, chatter. I hope things get better eventually. Why are you laughing? It's just, he just literally said, it's like when Turkish chatters come in and they're like, yes, to government smuggling oil and fuel. Listen, the Turks are there. They're aiding and abetting. At least one of the governments. What the fuck, bro? We can hear you laughing. I mean, what can I fucking say, man? What can I say? We are the great Satan. Trump wants no more strikes on Iranian energy sites after Israel Wednesday's attack on a vital Iranian gas field. I live in Mississippi. Y'all don't know what it's like. Man, you're really gonna fucking compare Mississippi to Benghazi? Turks, Russians use Egypt, Italians, and Americans. It's all here. Oh. I mean, yeah, Mississippi's ass, but come on, dude. At least they don't have open air slave markets. I mean, actually, I don't know if Libya still has it. They don't have it anymore. Yeah, Mississippi don't have it no more. They do slavery, but it's behind closed doors. They don't do it in open air slave markets. They do it in the prison system. It's hidden now. And it's justifiable because it's constitutionally approved slavery as a mechanism of punishment. Israel doesn't hate the chaos. We do. Anthony Lameza says, Israel doesn't hate the chaos. We do. We want stability. Netanyahu, not so much, especially in Iran. They hate the Iranian government a lot more than we do, a White House official said. Israel doesn't hate the chaos. Trump aides foresee Iran endgame divide with Israel despite close coordination between Trump and Netanyahu. Barak 8200 Ravid, the middleman between the Israeli state and the American one. Very interesting. I love hearing from Barak, Israel's strongest soldier, Ravid, doing the 754,000th report about American government is very mad at Israel. Yeah, every single fucking day, dude. Barak Unit 8200 Ravid. Oh, Benjamin Netanyahu's really angered Joe Biden now. Yeah, this is fucking 10 days apart, by the way. Barak Unit 8200 Ravid. Scoop. U.S. dismayed by Israel's Iran fuel strike, sources say. Israel strikes Iran natural gas facility in coordination with the U.S. And then again, Barak Unit 8200 Ravid turning around and saying an Israeli official or an American official told me that they're really mad at Israel. Yeah, more from Barak Unit 8200 Ravid. It's awesome. It's great. Things never change. That's just, Israel is going to bomb more civilians tomorrow, and Barak Ravid is going to report on how America is really mad at Israel once again. How do you know about 8200? Brother, it's like half of my chat. What do you mean? Of course I know about Unit 8200. Half of them are in here watching every day. Half of them are in here being like, oh, why don't you use Zapar on Kaya again? Hassan, you are Hamas. Terrorist. Terrorist. Here. Iran, write this one. This will get him. Terrorist. Iran Morad, write he is a terrorist this time. We will get him. Trump knew South Par's attack and approved of it, but now he's against strikes on Iranian energy sites, believing Tehran received the message that it must reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Trump opened the future attacks on Iranian energy facilities depending on the Iranian retaliations. It's just fucking bullshit. The Brandonization is complete, dude. It's awesome. I'm really mad. It's the same fucking actors writing it, too. It's literally the same guy writing the same article over and over again. Okay? It's awesome. Red lines and disagreements between Israel and yet another American head of state for the 750,000th time. Surely this time is different, guys. And yes, Barak Ravid was literally an Israeli spy. He served as an analyst in the IDF surveillance unit, Unit 8200, until 2023. I simply can't take another 700 Barak Ravid fake U.S.-Israel tension stories. We did this for 15 months with Biden. Ravid published 30 plus of these, and no policy ever changed. They're curated by White House officials and Ravid to create artificial distance between the president and unpopular wars. Are you not afraid to go to Cuba? Why would I be?
Killed in an Israeli attack in Tehran. Larijani was appointed Secretary of the Supreme National Council last year and recently said the U.S.-Israeli war set the heart of the Iranian nation ablaze. And Gholam Reza Soleimani, the commander of Iran's internal security unit, was also killed by...
They kill revisionists in Cuba, bro.
Israeli forces on Tuesday. He was sanctioned by the U.S., European Union and other countries for his suspected role in suppressing dissent in Iran. Back to you, Mohammed Val, in Tehran. The Iranian president confirming in the last hour that the intelligence minister was indeed killed. What effect, what impact is this having on the Iranian state and the system?
Well, fully generally speaking, it's a very hard blow on the government here and on the people who support the government. Of course, we have seen with the gathering today, thousands of people paying tribute to those two leaders who were killed yesterday. And now we have this new assassination. There is no doubt. Nobody can deny that this is a very challenging situation for the government here and for the country, particularly the segment of the population that still hopes that this government will remain in place during and after this war. But there is also that spirit of defiance among the people, particularly among the leaders, saying that, you know, when the late Supreme...
Why can't Iran manage to kill even one single notable dude? I don't know, maybe because the world's most powerful military with a, finite but virtually unlimited supply of defensive weapons have basically designed the most protected airspace of all time. And at which point, like, Iran might have still killed someone. We just don't know. Iran doesn't have like a competent air force. They don't have strato tankers that can fucking refuel their flight. They refuel their planes as they go and do precise strikes on Israeli airspace. It's just not so easy to go up against the most powerful military on the fucking planet. Also, Israeli officials are hiding in bunkers, let's be real.
Leader Ali Khamenei was assassinated. The Americans and the Israelis were betting on that scenario, on that incident alone to lead to the disintegration of the country, or of the government, I mean. That didn't happen. And one after the other leaders have been assassinated. And before that, there were many assassinations during the previous war and so on. The leaders here are saying that this is not the way to change the regime in Iran, and it is not going to lead to the results desired by the Americans and the Israelis. As you can...
I never understood why China never gave Iran J-10 fighter jets. Like, are they allies or not? They're not. China doesn't have any, like... With the exception of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, which is like a holdover allegiance from the Korean War, China does not have any full-blown security arrangements. They have favorable trade relations. They have strategic partnerships, but the Democratic People's Republic of Korea is the only country on the planet that has a security agreement with China. China has one vassal state, Pakistan, which again is literally half owned by China and half owned by the CIA, maybe even more so than half owned by the CIA. So I don't know how that works at all. But yeah, they don't have any full-blown security cooperations. We are slaves, says Pakistani Mango. They have sold fighter jets to Pakistan, obviously, because like I said, Pakistan is like China's comprador state. China's Zindabad. Yeah. And it's not bad. It's not bad for Pakistan. It's been quite beneficial for Pakistan. My life for Pakistan. Okay. One day I will grow up to join the Pakistani Air Force. Great. Wow. My life for Pakistan. But as far as Iran goes, Iran does not have the same arrangement with China. Unfortunately for Iran. My mom, what is this? My mom is watching and she hates you because she thinks you are rich, always eating and sat on a chair making money, and you are not genuine. Can you convince her otherwise? Please explain to what you do. Explain to her what you do. Your name is literally Freddie Angles. Explain to your mom that, someone's wealth or perceived status does not change like how they can contribute to organizing.
As you can hear here, the foreign minister in an exclusive interview with Al Jazeera confirming.
I do not know why the Americans and the Israelis still have not understood this point. The Islamic Republic of Iran has a strong political structure with established political, economic, and social institutions. The presence or absence of a single individual does not affect this structure. Of course, individuals are...
Yeah, better idea. Have your mom go watch the opposition streamer for 10 minutes. Yeah, go get your mom to watch Asmongold real quick and then tell her to report back.
Influential, and each person plays their role, some better, some worse, some less. But what matters is that the political system in Iran is a very solid structure.
I'm Ali Hashim in Tehran.
Damn. I'd actually talk to Al Jazeera.
Iran's foreign minister insists the system will hold despite the ongoing U.S.-Israeli offensive, no matter the cost, as the region stands at the crossroads with far-reaching consequences. Stay with us as Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas.
Mr. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, thanks for talking to Al Jazeera.
Shukran, Mamma.
The first issue today is the announcement that they've assassinated Iran's Supreme National Security Council, Mr. Ali.
I do not know why the Americans and the Israelis still have not understood this point. The Islamic Republic of Iran has a strong political structure with established political, economic, and social institutions. The presence or absence of a single individual does not affect this structure. Of course, individuals are influential, and each person plays their role, some better, some worse, some less. But what matters is that the political system in Iran is a very solid structure. We have not had anyone more important than the leader himself, and even the leader was martyred. Yet the system continued to work and immediately provided a replacement. If anyone else is martyred, it will be the same. If the foreign minister were ever to be martyred, there would ultimately be someone else to take the position. Anyone could become a target. In recent days, we have seen that they have no hesitation about targeting any place. So far, 53 hospitals have been attacked, along with many schools. The Minab school, which has now become well known, where 168 students were killed, is the most famous example. But there have been others as well. Bank branches and many residential buildings have also been attacked. Political figures, civilians, scientists, and university professors have all been targeted. It is even possible that the foreign minister could be attacked. But like everyone else, we are standing firm and working for the goals and interests of our country, and we have no hesitation about giving our lives for it if necessary.
You are in the middle of a war, and it's an American-Israeli war on Iran. At the same time, Iran is in a wider war. It's launching rockets towards Israel, towards American bases, and also towards neighboring countries.
We did not expand the war.
Even Israeli Atlanticists are saying the same thing as Arakshi. Yeah, this is Citrinowicz, Dennis Citrinowicz, Middle East national security intelligence expert, non-resident fellow at the Atlantic Council. And Citrinowicz says, another expression of profound lack of understanding of the Iranian system. Iran will not relinquish its control over Hormuz, and there is no concept of signaling in its strategic culture. When it acts, it does so with force, and often against the facility. What the fuck? What happened to my chat? Did my chat-a-reno crash? What's going on? Why did it stop? Okay, it's back. I don't know who is hotter, Mr. Foreign Minister or Hassan. Why you gotta pit two bad bitches against each other? Okay, dude. Jesus Christ. I can't do the Shia smirk, so he's got me on that. The Shia smirk. What's the Sunni smirk? The Sunnis don't smirk. Anyway, getting back to Dennis Citrinowicz's statement. This is not just escalation, but escalation based on a misreading of the adversary. Moreover, pressure that weakens the regime may, in practice, strengthen it from within. It allows Tehran to frame the confrontation as a war against the state and the people, not against the regime, and thereby rally internal legitimacy. It's so funny that because he's an Atlanticist, he's still making it seem as though Israel has any ambitions of waging war against the regime. Right? Oh, you can't make the argument any longer. I think that argument passed the first day when they blew up a fucking school. And then the second day when they blew up the oil refineries and engaged in chemical warfare against everyone in Tehran. Pretty sure that argument is long gone, buddy. You know, and therefore, thereby rally internal legitimacy, even at the cost of disrupting electricity or gas supplies to civilians. This is precisely the risk in underestimating Iran's resilience and its patterns of action. Gaps in understanding, both in Israel and in the United States, could prolong the war and even contribute to stabilizing the regime instead of weakening it. And above all, no coherent strategy is evident here. It seems like a sequence of actions driven by pressure and fear of not achieving the objectives before political constraints, chief among them the possibility that Washington will block the campaign. As a general rule, if this regime survives, our strategic position could end up worse than when we enter the campaign. To be sure, the regime will be weaker, but certainly more extreme, imbued with motivation and a culture of vengeance, as opposed to the Israeli regime, which is notorious for not being extreme and imbued with motivation and a culture of vengeance. On the other hand, prolonging the campaign is doubtful to topple the regime and will only intensify the war of attrition in which we find ourselves. It's worth pausing to think about continuing the campaign. And no, the current regime in Iran will not concede or submit. Like this guy is not a fan of the IRGC or Iran. He is certainly looking at this from the perspective of like American military campaign objectives, even Israel's strategic objectives, and very clearly having a hard time coming to terms with that. Like, it's just not working. It's not working at all. Ostenox in shambles. Official statement from James Tallarico on vegan accusations. Oh no. Oh no, Ostenox. Yeah. I mean, he's running for Texas, bro. He can't be vegan. You know, he wants to be a Texas senator. It's not going to happen, you know? Come on now. Imagine it's fake, dude. Imagine it's fake if it'll, you know, make it easier for you to swallow that pill.
The war is inherently expansive. This is a point we had already warned our friends in the region about for a very simple reason. When the United States attacks us, our armed forces, our missiles, and our drones cannot reach U.S. territory. Therefore, we are inevitably compelled to respond by striking U.S. military bases in the region and attacking U.S. military assets in the region. Unfortunately, these assets are spread across the entire region and regrettably are located on the territory of our friendly countries. This is the nature of this war. When the United States attacks us, coming from 10,000 miles away to...
IRGC sent a warning to Trump: if you attack energy infrastructure again, we will respond similarly. Next thread: Iran continues to fire split warheads towards Tel Aviv, impacts in the center. IRGC says if attacks on energy infrastructure are repeated, subsequent attacks on your energy infra and that of your allies will not cease until complete destruction. Did they actually hit any oil sites then? They did. They hit some infrastructure. I thought the Iran military was defeated. Me too. I'm always confused. I'm always confused whenever I hear my favorite president, Donald Trump, come out and say, like, we've accomplished all of our objectives. Iran is dead. We killed the 87-year-old leader who had cancer. Like, they're obliterated, pulverized, smoked. And I'm always like, yeah, I love my president. Obviously, he would never lie to me. So he's, you know, it's victory. Every day he tells me it's victory. Every day I get excited all the same. It's actually pretty cool because, like, every day I get to experience the same joy of watching the mission accomplished banner get posted up. And I'm also wondering, like, because they keep saying, like, the Strait of Hormuz is actually open. And I look at it and, like, the only tankers that are crossing are the Chinese ones. And I'm like, I guess it is technically open, but for China, but for nobody else. You know, they keep unfurling the banner and it gets me excited every day. What a treat. What a treat. It's like I feel victorious all over again every morning. But then as the day goes by and the Iranian strikes continue, I'm like, what's going on here? Like, I thought it was mission accomplished, right? Where are we at? Why is the mission not fully accomplished? Because I thought it was accomplished. And then I see stuff like this breaking. A fire has erupted at Qatar's Ras Laffan refinery following an Iranian attack. I guess it kind of feels like, you know, we're just winning over and over again. But yeah, you know, it's great. It's great. I love winning every day. It's much cooler to win every day than to win once, to win one time, right? Like, because to win one time is, you're not going to feel that good. But to win every day, it feels good every single day. And I keep saying, Mr. President, I'm tired of winning. And he tells me, you're never going to get tired of winning. We're going to keep winning. I say, please, sir, no more winning. He says, we're going to keep winning.
Look at the polling data, and there are numbers that just jump off the screen at you. And this is one of those. Because just take a look here. MAGA GOP view of Trump. Approve 100. Holy Toledo. GOP view of Trump. Approve 100%. 100%. If you are a member of MAGA and the GOP, you...
Bro, even Kim Jong-un got 99.93, you know? Technically, Trump is beating Kim Jong-un right now. He's beating Kim Jong-un.
Approve of Donald John Trump. 0% say that they disapprove. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to know you can't go higher than 100%. He is the 1972 Miami Dolphins. Now, there are some Republicans who disapprove of Donald John Trump, but they are not members of the Make America Great Again movement. The bottom line is this: if you are a member of MAGA, you approve of Donald Trump.
It's interesting, though, because there have been a couple prominent people who have sort of come out online, and they're very mad.
I wonder what my Uncle Jank has to say about this.
About
100% of crackheads say they love crack and want more of it. 0% of crackheads disapprove of crack. Actually, that's not true. I feel like if you ask crackheads, if you polled crackheads on crack, you would get like worse numbers than this. You get like 85% of crackheads that say they love crack and want more of it. MAGA is worse than crackheads.
This war with Iran because he promised no new wars. Is there any sign that people might be leaving MAGA relative to?
That kind of makes sense then. No, just a silly way to present it. They're basically saying 100%. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Because a healthy number would still have it at like 85%, where like, 15% of MAGA is saying like, oh, we believe Make America Great Again meant no new wars. No, this is like unheard of. There's never an instance where the approval rating is 100% on anything.
2024.
Yeah, okay. So, I've said it before, and, the theme of this segment is Tucker Carlson be darned. And when we look at the numbers, I mean, I've heard some people say, oh, you know what, when you look at those MAGA numbers, it doesn't account for those who might have left MAGA. But take a look here. Americans who identify as MAGA, in November of 2024, it was 28% of Americans. Now it's basically the same. If anything, it's slightly higher at 30%. The bottom line is this. The MAGA base within the GOP is not shrinking. It's the same size. If anything, it is slightly larger than it was back in 2024 when, of course, Donald Trump won a second term. So that 100% that Donald Trump has approval among MAGA GOP.
Go ahead. Tell me I'm ridiculous for saying we need, rehabilitation and education, places of education. Here, I'll liberalize my language a little bit. I know that's scary for a lot of people when they hear me say this stuff. Go ahead. Saddam Piker is going to turn into an IED one day. Wait, what? I'm Saddam Piker now? I thought I was Hamas Piker.
That is not an artifact of MAGA shrinking. It's just an indication of how strong Donald Trump's grip is on that MAGA base.
And so I guess that begs the question of what's happening with inside the GOP and if there are any splits there, because with those kind of numbers, they're going to want to retain that, right? So they can retain their seats.
Yes. And you know what we're talking about, we mentioned Iran in the intro of this segment, GOP on U.S. military action in Iran. Look at this. In MAGA, it's 90% approval. It's 90% approval, just 5% disapproval. If you disapprove of the job that Donald Trump is doing, the U.S. military action in Iran, and you're a member of the GOP, look at this. It's your non-MAGA. You're non-MAGA. It's 36% there, 54% approved. But the majority of Republicans approve of the job that the U.S. military action is in Iran, and the majority of MAGA, which is the majority of the GOP, very much approve, 90%. Very little split in Donald Trump's base. Those who disapprove in the GOP, simply put, they hate MAGA.
It's really clear.
What happens to the MAGA identifying people after Trump's term is over? It's like 30% of the country at this point. Kim Jong-un approval rate. Yeah, Kim Jong-un is kind of washed, low key. Like Trump literally has better performance in his base than Kim has with his. You think the MAGA approval rate will go down if he loses this war? Serious question. Honestly, if you were to ask me a couple of years ago, I would have been like, yeah, if the gas prices get too high, if American soldiers come back in flag draped coffins and stuff, I would be like, probably. But I don't know anymore. I don't know. I don't know if anything can shake their confidence. A man was killed by an apparent cluster bomb impact in central Israel following Iran's latest ballistic missile attack. Again, David Adom says it had treated the man in his 30s after he sustained critical injuries from shrapnel. His death was declared a short while later. Several apparent cluster munition impacts were reported across central Israel. It doesn't seem like Iran's capabilities have diminished from what we're reading. But
it is only natural that we must respond.
But Dr. It's involving airports, ports, hotels, sometimes even some residential areas. And there are many people killed. For example, I'll give you an example from myself. I was in Doha. In Doha, all the time, we're hearing the drones, the rockets. And at the end, it's not the idea that these are clear bases, because in a way or another, there are some areas that are residential areas, businesses that are being targeted. Now, in Qatar, they're being intercepted. In some other places, they're not.
First of all, I am truly surprised that the world does not speak out about the attacks on Iran's residential areas, the attacks on schools and hospitals. Why does no one talk about these? but I can say with confidence that we have not attacked civilian targets in neighboring countries. We have not targeted them. Of course, in some places there may be collateral consequences, but that has not been our intention. However, when it comes to striking what the Americans call their bases in the region, it is natural that we have not limited ourselves only to their formal military bases. Wherever there has been a concentration of Americans, wherever they have had facilities belonging to them, those places have been targeted. Some of these may have been close to urban areas. This is not our fault. It's the Americans' fault. They evacuated their soldiers from military bases and moved them into hotels inside cities. Overall, it is the United States' behavior that has brought the region to this point. I accept that our friendly countries are upset and that the people of the region have been harmed. That is why Dr. Pezeshkian apologized to the people of the region, because as a result of U.S. aggression against us and our response and retaliation, they may have been affected. But all of this is America's fault. We did not start this war. We are only defending ourselves.
There was a lot of controversy around Mr. Pezeshkian's apology, whether this created a rift in the system and whether the military was in a way or another reserved towards this apology.
All this commotion was unnecessary. Mr. Pezeshkian spoke very clearly. First of all, in our country, apologizing is a sign of strength and honor. A person who is more powerful and more honorable does not hesitate to apologize. The apology he made was addressed to the people of the region out of respect for the difficult situation they are facing. The United States attacked us, and we are retaliating, yet we still apologize to the people of the region because they have suffered. There was no internal disagreement within our...
I think Trump's doing the right thing, honestly.
What's up?
I got no comment on that.
You don't know why?
Nah, I'm just taking a guess.
You're just guessing that he's doing the right thing?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think Trump's doing the right thing.
Is this a joke?
What?
Is this a joke?
Yeah.
It's
no,
a joke?
It's not.
All right, you can fucking drive home, bro. Or walk home, sorry.
Damn, I don't know what just happened. All right.
But he doesn't even know why.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just think, like, it's not good for the economy. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Even the one that you expect to have, like, some sanity is crazy to me, bro. Is this like a fucking bit? Is that what this is?
I don't really give a fuck about the war. Smoke weed, get money, fuck bitches. Hell yeah.
How do you feel about the
God damn, bro.
system? As for why President Pezeshkian's constructive approach did not succeed, the
low-key, this is unironically what, dude, this is the full spectrum. I'm sorry. I don't know if this is a bit. I don't know if this is a sketch or if it's sincere. But this is the spectrum of American politics. Okay? Cultist psychopath who doesn't even know why he likes Trump, but likes Trump. Democrat who doesn't know why he thinks it's bad. Okay? And the plurality that goes, whatever, fuck bitches, get money, lamau. Like, this is unironically how he hit 3 of the planks. All 3 are cattle. All 3 of them. Meanwhile, their cousins are going to get fucking fragged with a goddamn Shahed drone in a matter of a month from now. But hey, maybe you'll get his fucking Camaro. We are so fucking cooked, dude. We are so unimaginably dusted, bro. You can't have a future with a country like this. You can't have a future with a citizenry that is this out of touch with the unlimited super violence that we subject the rest of the world to. The American working class straight up are so far removed from the consequences of our actions, both due to American proximity, like physical proximity to the violent incidents that we're causing everywhere, but also because of a pliant media apparatus that totally keeps people servile, totally keeps people neutral to American foreign policy, endless militarism. Part of that is because we don't have a draft. That's part of it, because a draft would universalize the pain real fucking quick for a lot of these guys. Okay? Part of it is because the American state, due to its distance, doesn't ever get impacted, rarely ever receives blowback other than like 9/11. And the other part of the reason is because like even the American economy is kept at bay from the worst kinds of impacts. The economic pressures, at least the economic pressures that Americans will feel, they feel with latency. You're kind of being a liberal right now. I'm just saying, man, it's so discouraging to see how much those in the imperial core sit around and have the capacity not to think, sit around and have the liberties not to fucking think about like where their tax dollars are going. Motherfuckers in here are calling for the draft. Holy shit, fuck off. I mean, might put an end to this fucking war business very quickly, because that's part of the reason, because the people already signed up for it. It's voluntary, right? Also, it's completely outside of our control anyway. 41,713 individuals in this chat. If every single one of them demanded the draft, it wouldn't even change the reality one bit. Have Los Pollos on the stream? I would love to. He hates me.
In Iran right now in a war?
We should. We absolutely should.
We should?
We should. There's no question.
You support it?
Fully.
Tell me
100%.
why.
You have a very oppressive regime that is a threat to democracy around the world. And this is a group of people that were in charge that can no longer wreak havoc in the world. And I think people that are believe in a better future will be better off.
They're wreaking havoc on our economy with the Strait of Hormuz.
If that's the case, maybe there's a short-term blip for a better future.
The head of national counterintelligence resigned today. He said that Donald Trump was led into this war unnecessarily, and that he's doing this for Bibi Netanyahu. Basically, he's saying we're fighting Israel's war. Do you agree with that?
I disagree wholeheartedly. If that's his prerogative, then so be it. The person that resigned. The U.S. needs Israel. They're our first front in the Middle East.
Okay. Nah. I only hear this from. This is straight up Hasbro talking points. Okay. This is straight up Hasbro talking points. Motherfucker's like a Jerusalem Post columnist, dude. That's crazy.
And without Israel stopping the growth of potential terrorism in the Middle East, Europe.
This is so far removed from the average American's perspective. It's not even. This is not even close.
The United States and the broader West.
Don Lemon serving Israeli hummus.
Will eventually feel the potential consequences.
He's saying there's no imminent threat for the war, and there's no justification. There's no imminent threat to the U.S. nor Israel, and so doesn't understand why we went to do this now.
Well, I don't think there's one person that can speak for this whole country. This individual that resigned.
Well, not just him. I mean, that's what the intelligence shows as well.
You're entitled to believe that. I think if you look at who's providing greater value to the...
He's this guy, 65-year-old Israel supporter. Oh my God, I'm going to support. They're our greatest ally. Is physically incapable of recognizing his own best interests. Has never heard of the U.S.'s liberty in his life. Gives his entire pension to Israel. Unable to maintain erection unless he thinks about young men dying in the Middle East. Thinks Ben Shapiro is the smartest man in the world. We got to support them or the bad guys will come attack us. God curses those who curse Israel. Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, that's Bob. That's low-key Bob.
The world.
I understand what you're saying, but the war, if you go to war with someone, there has to be some imminent threat of attack. There was no imminent threat of an attack. And there's no intelligence that they had a nuclear weapon.
Well, you can get caught off guard all the time. I mean, look at...
I mean, yeah, this is just Mossad, okay? He might as well be interviewing Barack Unit 8200 Ravid. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Israel is the greatest nation on earth. Honestly, like, I mean, they're the front line of they're the front line of defense against radical Islam. It's great. We have to give them the billions upon billions of dollars. I mean, that's obviously what we got to do. And it's also awesome that Israel is causing the entire global energy markets to collapse, because guess what? Those guys haven't given their pensions to Israel, and therefore they're anti-Semitic.
Reason lies with
everything is Israel's fault. I mean, yeah. You think this is a good risk? Hey, Chatter, let me ask you something. Have you looked outside? Have you picked up a newspaper? Do you know what date it is? Because it's not 2003 right now. Okay, it's Wednesday, March 18th, 2026. So this kind of argument would have been perfectly valid to make, even if there was plenty of real reason to deny Israel this unholy allegiance we have, right? Oh, I'm agreeing with you, dumbass. Oh, I thought you were doing the classic defense. Because that's like the most. This is the defense that I keep hearing from like Asmongold and shit. That claim like, oh, I guess everything's Israel's fault. Didn't realize you were being sincere. My mistake. I thought you were being sarcastic, because I hear that is like the last line of defense from people. Yeah, net favorability of Israel, all minus 14. 18 to 29, minus 27%. 30 to 44, minus 23%. 45 to 64, minus 17%. And of course, the fucking the boomer philo-Semites minus or plus 16%. GOP minus 43%. That's insanely bad for Israel, by the way. Plus 43% is insanely bad for Israel for GOP. Okay, cult, but regardless. Independents minus 34%. Democrats minus 50%. It's over. Without you in this community, I'd probably go crazy, to be honest. Oh, Hype Train, level 1 achieved. Let's go. Rex, Racer X, thank you for the 20 gifted subs. Everyone subscribe to the Piker Broadcasting Service. I'm not seeing enough movement in the subscription side on the Piker Broadcasting Service. That's why I haven't been using the soundboard as much. That's what it is. Can you please connect Adam Friedland with Abbas Arakshi? If Adam Friedland gets an Abbas Arakshi interview before I do, I'm killing myself. Okay?
I'm Brian Kilme. I'm Brian Kilme. I'm Brian Kilme.
Actually, if he scoops me on another fucking high profile interview, I'm actually
I'm Brian Kilme.
You know, it's over. It's over for me. Okay, god damn, people love the fucking soundboard. It's crazy. Every time I bring up the soundboard, motherfuckers go crazy. Motherfuckers go crazy, dude.
And pussy too.
That's right. Adam's on track to get Trump. Big dog, you're washed. I have Trump right here.
May Allah awaken the people and help them to see the evil doings of Israel and the United States.
Yeah, he's right here, bro. Chill. He's right here.
Well, I mean, Marco Rubio said it.
Iran's foreign minister Abbas Arakshi, Israel has no regard for the repercussions of the normalization of its heinous methods of terror, but the international community should not disregard their recklessness. As for every action, there will inevitably and always be a reaction. God damn. Yoit Spipes, thank you for the 10 gifted. Holy moly, we're going crazy. Ham and fist. Calm like a Tom. Hear the crow. Thank you for the gifted. China learning. What is this? China is closely studying the U.S. War with Iran to learn from American military tactics and weaknesses, especially for a potential future conflict over Taiwan. Officials say China sees an advantage as the U.S. shifts attention to military resources from Asia to the Middle East, weakening its presence in the Indo-Pacific. The heavy use of U.S. weapons and rising costs are also viewed as beneficial to China. Yeah, no shit. Of course. You know who else also said that? Not just me. Motherfucking General Raising Cane, dude. If you hit the Alex Jones liberal soundboard, I'm leaving chat. Chatter, gift subs right now, and we'll get Megaphonics to leave the chat.
This is the China.
Here's the Director of National Intelligence, Gabbard, and her assessment on the predicament. Keep gifting subs right now if you want me to hit the liberal and cause Megaphonics to leave the chat. Uh-oh. Megaphonics, you hear that? You hear that, Megaphonics? Damn, okay, this is getting serious. Why'd you toss that out there, Megaphonics? Ripophonics, dude. Bro, why'd you put a wager on it? I'm just farming, brother. I'm farming. Hype train level 6 complete, dude. God damn. God damn, hype train level 6 complete. The people it's a level 7 and 48%. People are demanding the liberal. If we get to level 8, I'm blasting it. I'm being used for your greed. It's coming. Hype train level 8, and I hit it.
The IC assesses that China continues to rapidly modernize its military forces across all domains in pursuit of its goal to achieve world-class status by mid.
Liberal. Happy fun, la la la. Human smuggling, fentanyl deaths, forced government euthanasia, chopping up children's genitals, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la.
God. You paywall the soundboard, shaking my head. I mean, I gotta sing for my supper every now and then. You know what I mean? I keep forgetting to demand people subscribe, and then people don't subscribe. Sometimes you gotta sing for that supper, baby.
The IC assesses that China continues to rapidly modernize its military forces across all domains in pursuit of its goal to achieve world-class status by mid-century. This includes building a force with the aim of being capable of deterring U.S. and allied forces in the region and to achieve their stated objective of developing the ability to seize Taiwan by force if necessary. However, the IC assesses that China likely prefers to set the conditions for an eventual peaceful reunification with Taiwan short of conflict. The IC assesses that China continues to rapidly modernize its...
Not crazy war! Not crazy war! Yesterday, you yelled at me, but you kind of betrayed me because I was saying you shouldn't run because you're doing a lot of building the grassroots base. I said you should create a PAC or nonprofit org to get your fans and channel into local seeds. You have a fan in all 50 states. You could probably run effectively. No crazy war. Yeah, I got new ones. Yeah.
Holy Toledo.
Peace forever. Peace forever. Si paz. No guerra. Look what they did to my boy, dude. Look what they did to my boy. They need to free him. After Venezuela defeated the American forces in the baseball, world baseball thing that was going on, championships, they have to free him. Free my boy. Zoran, where are you? Zoran, demand the freedom. They're bragging about their view count. Politico, senior White House officials say wartime messaging focuses on audience engagement with videos reaching 3 billion plus impressions in 4 days. One as we're just grinding away on banger memes. There's an entertainment factor to what we do. Oh my God, bro. Every day there's a new reason for a fucking nuclear first strike on me, okay? God damn.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
Seriously.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
Oh my God, holy fucking moly. We are such animals, dude. Blonde Bob, thank you for the 100 gifted subs. White House is talking about posting banger memes, bro. We are not going to make it. We're not going to make it. It's over. It's actually fucking over. We are not going to make it. Look at what Abdul El Sayed posted on Insta. Bro, he posted it on the Twitter too. They really got my guy Maduro locked up a few blocks from me. Hashtag free Maduro. Hashtag free Maduro. Hashtag free Maduro. Actually, free him. Free him. Yeah, Russia is